Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 4 of Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series. We are back in England at Snetterton. Slightly controversial track, I would say. It looks like it's a dry race so far. We are live for Split Blue for a 1-hour sprint race here. I am joined in the box by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mullock, Neil Alexander. How are we, sir?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you? What's been happening?
Oh, a bit of racing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Seems though it's dry, which is a little bit disappointing, but yeah. Looking forward to Split Red delivering.
Yeah, it's been very dry Britain so far for the 3 splits that we've seen. Maybe red tonight. Why not? That split deserves a bit more carnage.
Yeah, we had when our server loaded up, it was really overcast, and it was overcast at the beginning of the race, but it kept clearing up. So unfortunately, we didn't have any. And based on this weather prediction for Split Blue, it doesn't appear as though there will be much in terms of moisture on tracks. So, bit unfortunate there.
You win some, you lose some. How did you find last night? Pretty eventful race for yourself?
No, I literally had to weave on the straights to sort of keep myself interested. After Jacobs got a penalty, I was in no man's land. Like, it was just a very, very boring race. But the track itself at least keeps you awake with its random curbs and multiple spots where you can definitely die. So it should be interesting to see what these guys can get up to.
Yeah, I noticed it's a very in the groove track. If you're on your A game, it's like you're hot lapping for 60 minutes. I didn't see a super amount of overtaking. It was pretty clean last night. I was expecting that. Everyone thought it would be a bit of a disaster, but no, overall it's been pretty good so far, and hopefully that continues tonight.
Yeah, I was certainly expecting not necessarily a lot of like sends or something like that, but with these curbs that can sometimes just send a car around, there's the potential for some crazy rejoins out of control and stuff like that. But no, we didn't really see anything. But it is a very tricky track for overtaking, so you need to really work it well to force somebody into a mistake here. It's not just driving past them.
Not straightforward.
But yeah, it's I've never made so many small mistakes on a track, because there's just so many spots where if you miss your braking by half a meter, then you're on the grass or you're touching a curb that you're not supposed to touch. So yeah, we were discussing it after the race that you get tracks like Brands Hatch that's really like intense, but you can kind of zone out because it's predictable, but because of the state of the curbs here that aren't consistent the way you hit them, you need to be on it all the time. So it's quite an exhausting race.
Yeah, we saw with Mitch Hobbs last night. He made, wow, some of the background there has just yeeted himself off into oblivion. Yeah, I saw Mitch Hobbs make the same mistake twice, but the only little ones at turn 1, and that's cost him pretty much his entire race. So it doesn't take much here. We didn't see any bad rejoins. I hope that continues. We have been doing our best to punish bad rejoins, much to the displeasure of a few drivers, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Just going to be patient rejoining the track. But overall, over the last couple of rounds, or last couple of splits, it's been pretty good.
Yesterday seemed pretty clean overall. I mean, our splits had very few actual yellow flags and no massive incidents. So Hobbsy obviously a little bit unlucky. Oof, as we see Maddox there get absolutely balked there by Stockton coming into bomb hole. He was on a belter there and had to take evasive reaction.
That felt like a curse then, but we'll let that one slide, as Britt is 9/10 clear of P2 with a 45.7. Matthew Lamb has not set a time yet, so, or maybe he has.
He was.
No, there he is.
He was doing high 44s in practice.
That's
so
disgusting.
I'm sure he'll be looking to get close to that. He's one of the very, very few drivers that I know of in OOR that is capable of that. So hopefully he can deliver in quali. I think he just invalidated there, so hopefully he still has enough time.
Every now and then, Lamb will have a qualifying session where he really struggles to put a lap in. Maybe he's just pushing a little bit too hard to set a banker. But he's got 8 minutes still here, and I don't expect him not to set a lap.
Well, the good thing...
Go.
No, the good thing for Lamb is he just has to put in an average lap and he'll still be pretty much top 3, so...
You're not wrong there. We had a couple of drivers last night when I put a set a lap, and they ended up in the top 10, so... Great drives there. I think it was Scanlon and Morgan off the top of my head. But, it's not where you want to be when you're at the pro class and you're meant to be at the pointy end.
No, for sure, and especially if you invalidate 2 laps, then the pressure starts getting into your head, and you start just pushing that extra step too hard and thinking, "Oh shit, I have to set a lap now," and that's when you completely psych yourself out of doing a good qualification. So, but Matt is he's a pro level driver, and he'll sort it out. So we see Convoy here also not having set a lap yet. So quite a few drivers, actually 4 or 5 drivers, have not set laps apart from J-Rad, who is not allowed to set a lap with a quali ban. So hopefully all of them can get a number on the board at least.
Well, at the moment, the safety cars actually out-qualified Jamie Convoy. So it's not great scenes early, but I do expect Jamie to get a lap in very, very soon. McLaren is not fun around here from what I've been told. Is that true?
I haven't really spoken to many people driving the McLaren, but based on grid space and how close he can generally get to Matt Lamb, I would say that it is not its strongest track for sure. I mean, obviously, we know that it's not particularly strong over curbs, and these curbs can affect a Bentley, so they'll certainly have an effect on the McLaren. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be its strongest track, but in fairness, Convoy got a fair amount of practice here when LFM was here a couple of weeks ago, so he knows the track well, and I think he enjoys it, so he should be able to put in a good performance.
All right, well, top 5 at the minimum then from JC. Speaking of Sean Pro now, he's moved up in class, and he's moved up in places. He's been maybe saving some time up his sleeve here. P4 at the moment, 146.7. He was,
he's very unhappy about that pro tag. He's still denying it, but unfortunately his performances don't deny it. So yeah, good to see him finally with that white plate next to his name.
Very, very close here that's Matthew Lamb going at 45.4. Very spicy, just between, what is it, P4 to P10.
Yeah, just a couple of tens in there.
Super tight.
So yeah, from personal experience, the Aston is not great around here. It's very slow out of the 2 hairpins. So it's a bit of a struggle getting a good lap together, but it's decent in the race. But certainly Audi is by far the fastest car here, and then you have the Honda and the Beamer are very quick as well. So it should be interesting to see what Maddox is able to do as he improves to a 46.5, putting him in the P4.
He's had a solid season so far, Rose Robert.
Well, yeah, speaking of solid seasons, he is currently leading the championship in Split Blue with 341 points. He's 6 points clear of Joshua Vettiger, who's in the Ferrari, who's another car that might struggle around here a little bit. And then Matthew Lamb, surprisingly, currently in P3, so he has had some challenging rounds as well, and he's about 60 points behind. And then in the Pro-Am class now, with Noski moving up into the Pro class, Shane McLaws takes over the lead, and he is about 30 points clear, 25 points clear of Sean Miller. Kieran Reid only another 5 points behind that. And in the Am class, we have Brett Horsell leading with 45 points, followed by John Stockton on 34 and James Lawrence on 30. So a very tight battle in the Am class as well.
It's good to see. Lamb not having it in his own way at the moment. He's still the one to beat for the split, but because we've removed the drop round, he's really reliant on consistency and luck to go your way. We do have the final series in Asia Pacific, so I'm expecting about 10 pro drivers from each split to make it through, barring probably yellow or green getting a couple more and red getting a couple less, just based on the quality of fields. So we'll release those next week. JP, you're not having the luckiest season so far. You got a big last round in you?
I don't know what you mean. It's been fantastic. I've won a race, and then it's all gone to shit after that. So, had a disconnect, and then had a deletion, and then had a broken steering wheel for a round. So, yeah, not been amazing. But Suzuka is a fun track that I enjoy, and frustrates the hell out of me. But yeah, looking forward to that. I think it should be a little bit more balanced in terms of the BOP, but we have Dafa Arianza in our split now, and he is just on a different level. So I think it's everybody else is just playing for P2. But then again, it is a super sprint round, and that always mixes things up. So yeah,
it does. So you've had that year or that season where you won everything, and this year it's this season it's maybe it's payback from other drivers, but you still got the finals, mate. Clean slate, round 6.
I need to get into the top 10 first, so I'll see if I can get there.
So it's not necessarily, if anyone's wondering, just the top 10 exactly for points that make it through. We do look at attendance. We do look at behaviour. So it's more of an invitational, with the points being a fair catalyst to who makes it through. But that's not to say you're currently sitting 11th in the pro class there. So a big week next week, JP. I think it's right. I can't remember.
I'm not sure if it's updated on the standings yet, but I'm P13, but there's 2 pro-ams ahead of me. Yeah, so P11, but a fair few points behind Benevento now. So yeah, we'll try and get a good result and try and sneak in there. And speaking of pros, Robert Maddox moves up into P3 with a 46.1, and I think he has run out of fuel. He had enough time for another lap, but he's calling it quits.
G'day chat, Ash Plays AU. Glad to finally catch one of these streams, am new to the community and finally had a night off. Well, it's great to see you had a night off at work, and great to see you've chosen us to enjoy your night off. Mistakes were made, but hopefully you've got a beverage there and got your feet up and have a nice night off work. It's just nice to have my voice kind of half back.
Yeah, you sound a lot less croaky than before, so that's good to see.
Last week was... My girlfriend enjoyed it because I didn't speak much.
I mean, they typically will enjoy that, but I mean, we all miss a bit of Kermit in the box as well. So, you see Chris Stacey there sneaks ahead of Maddox by mere hundredths. So he has secured P3 for now, unless Callum Gibbons can pull some kind of magic out of a hat. And Albrecht will need to find quite a bit of time if he wants to get ahead of Matt Lamb. He's not going to find it on this lap, I don't think.
Need a fireball. Sounds like an alcoholic beverage.
Is that not the cinnamon one?
That's sounds bang on to me.
Which is actually
I don't think I've
really
had a fireball before.
Really? Oh,
No.
so good.
I'd go to
I mean, if you like
cocktails.
cinnamon, then yeah.
Well, what's your go-to cocktail?
Cocktail, whiskey sour.
Oh, good man. Sours are the best. I like an amaretto sour, but they're very, very, very sweet.
So the funny story is I've never had a whiskey sour, and then when we were planning our wedding, we had an open bar and we had to pick 2 cocktails, and I was like, I don't really care. Pina colada and a whiskey sour, whatever, the sweet one and the sour one.
Yep.
And then on the wedding day, I was like, I'm going to try a cocktail. And then I ended up having 12 of them because they were so good. So they quickly became my favorite cocktail.
Well, that's one way to discover something. Pomegranate sour. That's sounds fruity. No, I can't say I drink much beer. Doesn't really agree with me. I've only just started getting into red wine, and I blame my girlfriend's sister. So if you're listening, which you won't be, it's your fault.
Yeah, I mean, my dad is very much into beer, and John's wife into wine. So we do have a fair bit of wine with family dinners and such like stuff like that. But I do enjoy a beer a couple of times a week, just at night, sitting watching a movie, having a couple of beers. And recently, it's been Hogarden Peach, which I know all the manly men will say that's not a real man's beer, but it's a freaking tasty beer.
Exactly. You drink what you like and you enjoy. And fuck everyone else.
Well, if I drink enough, then I will. Anyway, so qualifying has drawn to an end, and we have Matt Lamb on pole to absolutely nobody's surprise. Paul Britt in P2, Chris Stacey in P3, Robert Maddox, Callum Gibbons, Tom McDonald, Alexander Barillon, Joshua Vettiger, Sean Miller, and Sean Babnow. He's your top 10, and Patrick Oliver back in OOR after a bit of a layoff, so good to see him putting in a decent performance in qualifying.
And JC did get a time on the board. P17, not where he would have expected to be. Maybe a sneaky shout for driver of the day if he can smash his way up into that top 10. But yeah, welcome back, Pat. Tom McDonald, P6. He's had a crack at this season. He's going great guns. Baralon, he's P7. And Muller, he's also had a great little season.
Had a fantastic race at Brands Hatch for sure. He was really pushing up there in the top 4, top 5 the whole race. Barillon is one of those guys who's also sort of really makes the case for a pro tag, but he does have some incidents here and there. So pace wise, he's certainly up there, but he does need to sort out a couple small details, and he's certainly up there. But I'm quite surprised by Vettiger down in P8. He's been super fast, P2 in the championship, and only managed P8 in qualies. So he'll be looking to move forward for sure.
I think he had a move up in pro class this week. I think. Unless he already was, because he should be, because he's a freak. He's very, very good. Speaking of very good, it's ex-gamepad lad, Michael Velasquez. Welcome to the commentary box, mate. Unless you've disappeared.
How you guys?
There he is. How's the wheel going?
How's it? It's alright. It's a game changer, really. Like, driving experience has been so much better. So instead of, like, falling asleep when hot lapping alone, I'm actually, like, enjoying driving again.
That's good. That's what it's about. Yeah, you're a madman to use the gamepad for so long.
30 seconds.
But it was impressive as well, because it couldn't be easy.
Yeah, but the experience was there, so that was
seconds.
pushing me up there. But now I gotta restart, new hardware. So, yeah, hoping to see some improvements
10
in the upcoming weeks, months, hopefully.
Practice makes perfect, mate. You'll get there. You'll find that pace again. And you'll be pushing this man in the booth again on track.
Hopefully, yeah. Just like
I mean, he doesn't need to. It's not necessary. You can improve, that's fine, but that's not entirely necessary.
It's definitely necessary now that he's mentioned that.
Game on.
Yeah, but I would much rather switch from a gamepad to a wheel than the other way around. So definitely chosen the right direction to go, and also chosen a good entry point as a starter wheel. So I think you'll definitely gain some speed over the next couple of weeks and months.
What did you pick?
I picked the T300 RS.
Oh, nice. Thrustmaster?
Yes, indeed.
Yep, nice start there. Hey, Mole, that was me that got a comical upgrader pro. Josh always has been. Okay, I fixed Ash. I'm pretty sure he didn't upgrade it, did it? Actually, you're not out on track. You got the upgrade, and you didn't like it, and now you're sitting at home. What have I done? I actually fixed that, Ash, so you're back to Pro-Am, mate. I just felt bad leaving one of you out.
Quite an aggressive protest to getting a Pro-Am or Pro badge. Okay, well, fine, I won't race then.
Yeah, sorry, Ash.
And Diable saying T300 RS was his first wheel as well. I think it's one of the sort of better entry points, not quite direct drive, but fairly high fidelity, and yeah, it's a good entry point, like a step above a G29 or G923 or whatever the freaking model numbers are now.
Yeah, 923 I think the new Logi is. Still purchase a 920 or 29 for the same price as they were 5 years ago, which is staggering.
It is, I mean, it's not the best wheel in the market, but as an entry point, I honestly can't rate the G29 any higher. It's
Yep.
good enough wheel. The pedals are actually really nice. So yeah, if anybody is willing to get into this game and don't want to race on a pad like this mad lad over here, then yeah, G29 is a affordable starting point, I'd say.
I will second that. I had a G920, the Xbox version of it. And yeah, those pedals that you mentioned, I upgraded the springs in them. I got some T3A Pros
What is going on in the
afterwards.
background there?
Oh, I don't know. And I prefer the G920 pedals over the upgraded TA3 Pros. So yeah, great starter wheel. Get amongst it. I have not done a race start for a while, so I think I might get this one out of the way.
Sounds good to me. Enjoy.
G'day, Mike. Brad, Hemi, Megan, Ashley. Oh, you're in hospital. Well, I hope you're doing all right, mate. We'll put on some carnage tonight for you, as I am race calling the start, so this could be interesting. We haven't seen a safety car this week. It is there. It is ready to go. Matthew Lamb is starting P1. Paul Britt next to him. He's arch rival and teammate with Stacey and Maddox right behind. As we wait for green lights, which is quite a fair way down this straight. And we are away here at Snetterton in the UK. They're 3 wide just in the back here. That is Tom McDonald, the meat in the sandwich. It's a horrible place to be, and he's around. I've gone and done it. I've been here for 3 minutes, and I've already fucked everything up.
What a scene.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back indeed.
We haven't had a safety car for, well, a while in the split, and all it needed was a little bit of mold. Have you just screwed your voice again, or are you still okay?
Oh,
Atonal noise is the sign of the happy man.
I'm dying here.
yeah, so there you go. Ashley Vedico in hospital. I did that for you, mate, so I hope you're feeling better now, because I'm not.
All the nurses just ran to his room because his heart rate shot through the roof. Code blue, but unfortunately, a couple of drivers involved. It looked like McDonald and Vetigo, I would say, that were the main instigators there into turn 1, and a couple of other drivers got involved, unfortunately.
Oh, that's funny. To be honest, I am surprised that's the first one that we've seen at Snetterton. We haven't really had any bad incidents whatsoever. It is sim racing, it is motorsports, you're always going to get that every now and then. So 3 into turn 1 around here, it's tough any track. I will find the replay, but ouchie.
Certainly a tricky turn 1 as well. It's kind of a sort of a late turn in generally, but quite aggressive turn in, so it's difficult to go side by side with them. Certainly when you add an additional car, then it makes it even harder. So as they have shown us, it didn't quite work out.
Now, the safety car rules are a little bit different now. We've removed the bloody thing to prevent safety cars. It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. So a little short little VSC here as we wait for Matthew Lamb to get the show back on the road. I dare not want to call this, but there'll be single file, so turn 1 should be a little bit easier. This section of the track is quite tricky. I do like it though. And Lamb is away in his Porsche. Paul Britt, not a bad start there. We try and cycle through the field as you can see in the background. Everyone's single file, and we are off and racing. Stacey trying to get some heat in those tyres. Those are those in the background. So it is green flags here, and we'll show you that replay pretty soon. We don't have as long to actually show it now without the safety car. So 3 wide, you can't in well. Yep, that's not the way you do it. Oh, that's not how you do it. Oh, that's not how you do it.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going back to having no voice. Anyway, more 3 wides. Let's just keep going. Why not? Doug Wilson, just T-bone someone. Thank you.
Yeah, it looked like Mr. Reed sent it up the inside there a little bit, then looped it around, and Babs could not avoid him there. Tom McDonald, Tom Kidman, and the battle of the Toms here into turn 4. McDonald on the inside manages to make it work. That's going to open the door for Scani as well in that beautiful Lexus. He gets the move done on Kidman as well. There's a slough on the side of it, but certainly not driving like one. Ooh, that's a bit of too much curve there, but manages to keep it pointing straight. Ooh, another side-by-side here with Stockton and Wood. Wood cycles back up in front of him. And so far so good. No yellows at the moment, so that is good to see. But there's a big separation in the middle of the pack there. You can see Vettiger all by himself. And big packs just ahead of him and behind as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been the most eventful start so far for a Snetterton race we've ever done. Mind you, we've only done 3. This is the 3rd. So 3rd time's a charm, or some rant like that.
Charm, I'm not sure it's the correct word. I understand what you're going for, but I think there might be a different vocabulary needed. See Patrick Oliver then.
You're not wrong.
Was that a Tanjiro inspired livery on the Lexus? I'm not 100% sure what a Tanjiro is, so assuming it's some type of anime or something. You see Pat Oliver here, he's made his way up into P9 with the demise of the 2 Ferraris that were ahead of him, so he has gained 2 positions and putting some pressure on Sean Mudder ahead of him. But we finally get a replay here, so it looks as though McDonald just had an absolutely horrific start. Vettiger trying to go around the outside, and McDonald just tapped him on the inside.
That's tough.
Very well done by McKellar there to avoid an incident there in the Lambo as well.
That's a tough one. You can't really pin someone at full fault there. Pretty racing, but the stewards will spend a little bit more time than we just did looking at it, so we'll see what transpires from that.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was one of those cases where ACC spotter says clear on the right for Vettiger, and when he turns, there's very much a car there. So that could have contributed as well.
Absolutely. We will soldier on.
Yeah, so for McKenna a little bit deep there into a bomb hole. Not the other pronunciation that we generally use. We saw some discussions in the chat rooms that the rumor was that it's an actual bomb hole from World War.
Yep.
But apparently that is not true.
It's not true.
Apparently it's a myth. It's just a natural little hill or something.
That doesn't sound good. We need it. No, we'll go with the bomb.
I mean, you can't call it a bomb hole if it wasn't an actual bomb. So let's just go with bomb and believe the urban myth, I would say.
Well, it was built on an airfield, so I think that's why everyone thought, yeah, well, that makes sense. It's been bombed.
I'm pretty sure
I think
most of the UK is an airfield, or was an airfield at some stage.
Yes. UK was built on an airfield, did you know?
See, Rob Maddox here in the Audi Maniacs Audi, putting a lot of pressure on Stacey, but not quite able to get past him yet. Britt almost holding on to Lamb, but I think Lamb will just keep extending that gap ever so slightly. And then through the rest of the field is actually spread out pretty quickly. Apart from Oliver putting some pressure on Miller, there's no real tight battles going on at the moment.
It's ironic that this track's got a corner called Bomb Hole and it's never been bombed, whereas Branch Hatch doesn't have a bomb hole and it should be bombed. Sorry, Megan. Saw you in chat. Had to do it. A lot of hanging fruit.
And are we back on the hating Branch Hatch wagon, or?
Oh, well, it's been a while. I missed that round to commentate, I think. So I'm just going to quick few jabs in. Actually, I don't mind brands. Just don't ask me.
It's Brands is it's difficult. I always preferred Snetterton over Brands until I raced it last night, and then I think they're pretty even now. I don't know. Neither of them are fantastic, but they're not bad tracks. There's nothing particularly wrong with them.
Yeah, the poll I put up last night, I think Brands and Donington, I think, got the win. If you had to do a 1 hour session on any of the sim racing tracks every single day for 1 year, out of the 4 UK tracks minus Silverstone, I think it was Brands and Donington.
Yeah, I chose Donington, I think.
Yeah, the Donington's a good choice.
Yeah, I love the uphill and downhill. It's always fun there.
Really, the only frustration at Donington is the track limits at the chicane, basically. But the rest of the track is... I mean, the chicane is a fun chicane. It's just the limits are a little bit frustrating, but the rest of the track is absolutely amazing. First sector is awesome.
Well, you get to experience 8 hours of it in round 3 of the Endurance Series. Matthew Lamb cannot wait, he said.
I'm not sure if it's that amazing, but we'll see.
You know which one I'm looking forward to the most? I'm actually looking forward to Zandvoort the most, and I don't know why. I just
Because
think it's going to
you're
be...
a sadist and you like people to suffer?
Maybe.
That seems like the only reasonable assumption to be made here.
This is a bit different. I'm not looking at Indianapolis. I wanted that to be Coda, but...
Indy is an awesome Enduro track, I would say. It's gonna be a good Enduro. I really liked Gotha until last season's race, where I managed to speedrun a drive-through. Then it soured a little bit, but it's such a fun track to like lap if you're not worried about track limits. But Indy as well. Indy is actually a really fun track to just lap around.
Just don't get a drive-through through there.
Yeah, who does that? I mean, who speeds in the pit lane there when they're battling for the lead in a race? That would be very silly to do.
Yeah, whoever that is, so unlucky.
I think with
Yeah,
Zandvoort, it would add to it if there was the bank corners. I think that would, and it would be a little bit different. A bit of a different point than all the other circuits in ACC, but I don't think we're ever going to see that update. Much like we will never see the Paul Ricard pit update. But, wouldn't it be nice to see the Barcelona one? Get rid of that last chicane.
That would be so good. I don't care if they add turn 9 or not, the new turn 9, but no chicane would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Just opens up that whole straight a little bit more. This is what the track needs.
I don't know. Zandvoort is not a track that I dislike that much, but it's such a difficult track for overtaking, and especially dealing with blue flags later in a race, especially in an enduro race like that. It's like almost on a par with Bathurst in terms of the trickiness of dealing it within the middle sector there. So yeah, it should be fun to see how that goes.
Are you racing at Imola, Velasquez?
We're not sure yet for the entry list for MPRGP, so hopefully yes, but I think we need to settle some driver lineups as Michael Babb pits.
It's a very early stop. I think he has a little bit of damage from an earlier incident, so maybe he wants to get that out of the way and get some clean air. H, yes, the scary tree is there. Just look right ahead of you and say boop. It is still there. It's not there in real life anymore, but in the game it is there. It's doing the wave.
Yeah.
Jim Convoy here, trying to put some pressure on Michele ahead of him. Thircolini, give it back on Convoy. Back to putting the pressure on Michele. Moved up 2 positions, a couple of incidents earlier in the race, so he'll be looking to move forward. But I haven't really seen a pack spread out this much this quickly in a race for a long time, actually.
Yeah, I've always found it fascinating how some tracks click with a group and some just don't. even with the same amount of practice, drivers just have certain preferences with how they hit apexes, which is not what Vetica's done there properly. Or was that Sean?
Sean, who went a little bit wide there. Ooh, and goes side by side with Vitica in a corner where you really don't want to be going side by side. This is out in 2 positions there. And Vitica on the recovery path has had a very good opening stint after that initial incident.
Having a mistake there is very deadly, especially when you're in a battle. Just had the same thing as well happen to me. Just overshot that left-right sequence, and I lost 4 positions, I think.
Yeah, you did. You
for
got
that single
swamped.
mistake. Yeah.
Is that a sink?
Yeah, not my strong track, but it was an interesting experience to learn this track. With a couple of rejoins. Sorry to everyone that I hit.
Oh no. We're just talking about how clean that was.
It's a bit wacky when you can't name them. It's like, everybody. That's fine. That's just
Yeah.
And he said rejoins.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Yeah, thankfully they're not official race events, so at least.
No, you'll get an invoice in the mail, I think.
Oh no.
No, you're safe. Stewards would have sorted you out.
Yeah.
See a couple of penalties coming out for starting infringements. Brett Horsell got 1, and Shane Hart just got 1 before that as well. So always a bit tricky getting the lineup of the grid just right at the beginning and not going too soon. I think you saw a couple last night as well, 2 or 3 of them. So yep, but unfortunate day for those drivers.
Yeah, Chad, he's having a great race, Meg. In the top 10. P2 and Pro-Am. Putting the pressure on Sean Muller here.
I was actually running P8, and then he made that same mistake that Michael was just describing, just went a little bit wide at bomb hole. Lost out to Miller a little bit earlier. While they get caught up, I think he got past both of them. But yeah, still in that top 10 and battling for the Pro-Am lead. Also under a little bit of pressure coming from behind Paralon. As things are kicking off here, Convoy has gained 2 positions. And that's very wide by Dickinson. Manages to keep it on track. You don't want to be getting on that curb or you will visit the wall on the other side. Currently, Michele has a new full Simrig, which sounds very nice.
Wonder what he got. Jamie's gone very wide there.
Taking the scenic route there. Not the fastest line through there. So Mr. New Rig Man sends it up the inside. Convoy tries to defend around the outside. Is he able to do it? Michele pokes a nose up. Convoy will get a better run out of there. He manages to stay ahead. Hemi, can you tell us what rig he got? Because I am hopefully ordering a new rig next week. So always interested to know what people are getting.
What are you ordering, mate?
I will most likely get a track race, I think it's track race 8 light or something, the aluminium profile one.
Nice.
It would be good because my current playseat rig is like a ghetto motion rig because the whole thing wiggles with my, so it's time for that upgrade.
You had a GT Extreme Next Level Racing little rig seedy thingy. And after a while I snapped some of the wheel mounts, so when you'd pull the steering wheel back the thing would lift up, so it's like I was driving a really old Corolla or something. So yeah, then I upgraded that. Then when you get to the new rig it's like stiff as, it's like wow, this is what I've missed out on.
Moza R9 with the low cell pedals and a track racer profile, very nice. So he has the same wheel as John with the R9. Fantastic little. I have the R5 and I'm so impressed coming from a G29 to a direct drive. Which, by the way, Maddox has gotten past Stacy here, so he is up into P3 while we were waffling on. But yeah, the step up from belt-driven, gear-driven McDonald parking in a place he is not allowed to park. So He has gone for the early pits and has not made it work.
He's quite far off into the grass. Wonder if he made a mistake or something.
I think he got on that exit curb on the right-hand side there, and that curb will absolutely heat you in whichever direction it's feeling like. So you can only imagine what it does to a poor Ferrari when you hit it in the wrong way.
Seeing a bit of an answer in the background. I'm just trying to find it.
Well, oh, yeah, Barra is dropping rapidly.
And Sugden. Oh, Sugden only dropped one.
Eric Scarney with the first collision penalty for the race, causing a collision on a lap 3. We did not see that, but only a 10-second penalty, so not the worst of incidents, it would appear. Good to see Noski, Sean Bob now putting a lot of pressure on Gibbons, really making that pro tag work for him. Goes a little bit deep there. Get a replay. Barlon up the inside of Sugden, very optimistic that door was always going to close. Sugden maybe just not quite aware that he was there, and both of them boop each other.
Tough corner to try that move on. G'day Stu. G'day Diabolls.
Yeah, it works well when it works. I mean, I had a little bit of a problem with my wheel rim. One of the buttons was constantly pressing, so I had to send that off for repair. But the wheel base has been faultless and very impressive, I would say. So it'll be interesting to see if there's 2 little battles there in the top 6 between Gibbons and Babnau and Stacey and Maddox. If either of the leading drivers or the following drivers, they will try to get an undercut done. I experienced last night that tire drop-off was quite significant here after about 22-25 minutes. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they decide strategy-wise.
Just stay out. Do the Kyrene.
I don't think it works at this track, does it?
I don't think it works ever.
Yeah, the tire drop-off was like almost a second. It was about 8 tenths by the end of like a 30-minute stint. So
Yeah.
it was quite rough, especially that second last corner, just never ending right hand of the left tire was just waving a white flag. Benny B, I have a Moza R5 with the ES wheel. And the most basic pedals, the SRP light pedals. Callum Gibbo having a nice quiet race. P5 at the moment in the mobile. Not really able to put pressure on the drivers ahead. He's facing some pressure from Noski, but no real aggressive racing between the two of them so far. Oof. The penalty for that incident we saw comes through, and Alexander Barlon gets a drive-through. So the steward's taking out the big stick and giving him a good old bonk on the head. So only 2 drivers so far have completed their pit stops. Everybody else kind of staying out, trying to most likely run that 50-50 split. What did you run last night, Michael? Did you do the 50-50 split or run a little bit longer or a bit earlier?
Yeah, I ran a bit longer because it's a weakness of me that I start quite slow for the races, then I start improving, and I'm like, okay, I'll just stay longer, I guess, since I have the fuel. So yeah, I stayed pretty long. I think it was like 20 minutes left. I remember being P1 for a bit and I was off really quickly. So yeah, I think I stayed for a long time. Was the last of the gunners.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I put it just about on 30, or a little bit after, maybe. No, I think I put it almost exactly on 30. So, can we turn Michael's volume up a little bit? But yeah, I felt the tire drop off was just too much for me, and I needed to get on fresh tires. And because I wasn't really under any pressure from like behind or chasing anybody, it was like the strategic battle doesn't really matter. But we have quite a few battles on track here where it will definitely have an impact, where we know how finicky the pit stops in ACC are. So just a slightly poor stop and you're potentially losing out on a position or two. So I think we should start coming into that window within the next couple of minutes now.
Yeah, Snetterton is more on the larger side when it comes to tracks. So staying long isn't that effective, if any. I've had the only experience where a long stint was super helpful was Brands Hatch with the 2 pit stops. So I did the double whammy at the last couple of minutes, and turned out all right since the track was quite tight. There were lots of blue flags, and yeah, it was good. So for this track, nah, it's hard to go long, especially with what you said with the tire wear, and maybe even tire pressures going lower than usual, because you know you're going over curbs, sometimes even grass. So tires are quite meh.
Yeah, it's I found, I'm not sure if anybody else experienced the same, but getting the tire pressures right on this track is probably one of the most trickiest tracks to get it right, because the tires are like 28.2 in practice, and then you put them down one clip, and then all of a sudden you're almost under pressure. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. I couldn't figure it out. It took me forever to get the tire pressures right. Unfortunately, they were okay in the race, but yeah, it was very, very frustrating to try and figure that out. But it looks as though Stacy made a bit of a mistake. He's almost 3 seconds behind Maddox now. I think he maybe had a bit of an oopsie 1 or 2 laps ago. Yeah, Valiant's with a good point. This pit lane, I thought Paul Ricard had a bumpy pit lane until I drove down this one. It is freaking ridiculous. It's like a car parking lot. The bounciest thing you've ever seen in your life, especially if you're on the sort of the pit box side. Might catch a couple of people out if you're braking on a bump or something. You might overshoot a little bit. So hopefully people are aware of that.
Yeah, that happened to me as well.
Saw a pretty sad pit entry last night between a couple of drivers. Bit of rear contact. Poor Victor Cook got absolutely demolished.
We saw the yellow flags, and I was like, that's pit lane. What happened there? And then the comments came through TeamSpeak. Everybody was just going, ooh. So yeah, I rewatched it, and it was quite a rough one to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can attack the pit entry, but you got to make sure that you know who's around you, and just got caught out a little bit. It was pretty big contact. It was painful.
At least it's a better pit entry than Brands or Mazzano. It's not that difficult. It's not too bumpy coming into the pit lane. It's just once you're in it. But yeah, it's a bit of a blind pit entry. So if somebody is already on the line and they've maybe stopped a little bit early or something, and you're coming in at good speed, it'll be tricky to avoid. Quite interesting seeing quite a few people in chat who have Moza bases. I didn't think there would be that many, but yeah, good to see that it's getting a little bit more common. Some challenges to the big names, and I think based on the quality of the gear that we've got, and not given the small little errors which even the big names have, I'm quite impressed with it so far.
Yeah, in chat, post what wheel brand you use. Love to do a bit of a comparison, see what's out there. I've got a Simicube 2, which doesn't get used much at the moment, but it's there.
The problem is for us here, Island is just what's available and how much they cost. Like Fanatec is so expensive here, and there's no support. So if you have an issue with it, you need to basically send it to, I think Singapore is the closest hub that you can send it to. So
Yeah, that's right.
Moza at least has a local support and local warranties, so that is like a big benefit for it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Nice wheel. Lots of Fanatec or funny tech. You can't really go wrong with lots of gear out there. It's all personal preference. There's a couple of brands have had issues with quality control for a little bit of time during the start of COVID, but I think that's pretty well sorted out now. I won't name the brands. You'll know if you know. But yeah, it's all about budget, and as JP's saying, access. I know South America, for example, have the same issues as you're probably saying, JP, where they just don't have access to anything, and shipping costs. Like we try to look at getting something to Argentina, is like $1,000 to send a G920 wheels. Like, well, it's not really worth sending, is it? So it's just, yeah, got to be fortunate where you live.
They have the same problem even with just normal gear. Like PlayStations are so expensive there. So wondering if it's like a PlayStation 5 is like double the price that it is in Europe or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Holy smokes. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Vedigars 2.5. I've had that wheel. Solid. Pity you couldn't take it into hospital with you though, mate. We'll have to get that sorted out.
I mean, surely you can. The pedals should be nice and secure to the base of the bed, and just tilt up the backrest of the bed and wheel the little table across, and you can mount the table with the wheel with the table clamp, and you're good to go, I think.
That's probably the one advantage of racing in a gamepad, Michael, is if you end up in hospital, you just take your laptop, take your gamepad, you can race.
Yeah, indeed.
Not that I recommend anyone go to hospital. Try to get out of there if you can, but... Or be an absolute sucker and race on a keyboard. Don't know how people
That's
do it.
tough.
Mouse and keyboard. That's the way to do it.
Really experienced sim racing at its finest.
That's for full immersion.
Full
That's
immersion.
what you're looking for.
Brings back Grand Prix 2 days.
Oh, what an amazing game that was. Oh no, Jamie Convoy with a drive-through for causing collision. That is a big oopsie there for him. We didn't get a look at that, so not ideal for him there. It's going to put an end to his good performance so far.
Seen a couple of those tonight. Stewards have got their angry stick on tonight.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, didn't see the incident, but we saw what warranted a drive-through earlier from Varelon. So Bob now diving into the pit lane, dipping a wheel under grass, not advised, but it seems as though he got it slowed down. We will see him bouncy in the pits. No, we won't. We will see Jamie Convoy.
I'm not trying to do that. It's just happening.
It's not a problem. And will he serve his drive-through now, or will he go around for another lap? He dives into the pit lane, avoids the wall, and gets it slowed down to under 50. Does not get another drive-through, fortunately.
Yeah, that's always the killer. Is you're serving a drive-through, and as you enter pits, you overspeed, and you leave the drop pits, and then you get another drive-through, or a 10-second, and yeah, it happens a lot.
I think it happened to one of the teams in the Enduro, if I'm not mistaken. They got a drive-through for some form of a collision. They served the drive-through and got another drive-through for speeding, and they got a stop-go while serving the second drive-through or something like that.
Oh,
And it was just completely messed up their whole entire race within about 4 laps of each other. So
Yeah, that hurts.
but yeah, I've been fairly lucky. I don't think I've ever gotten a drive-through or a stop-go in an OR race for pit lane infringement. How about you, Michael? Has that happened to you?
Top go? Nah. Nah, not any that I recall of. Definitely not a season full of them.
Replay here of Jamie Conboy, Jake McKenna coming through the second last corner. Will he try and send it up the inside? He certainly will. Off, just slightest of contact on the rear end of McKenna there, and an additional little kiss on the nose there.
Oh, speaking of
with a driver
drive-throughs,
as well.
that could be the track limits for Patrick Oliver. Welcome back, Pat. Have a drive-through.
Go. Haven't seen anything pop up yet, so probably 4 track limits. So he will have to serve that one. That one is not getting removed, as the pit lane penalties do.
I'd be feeling better soon, Ash. I've had my fair share of time in hospital, and it's never fun.
Yeah, I generally try and avoid them as much as possible. We've seen quite a few
That
cars.
is the ideal strat. Drive through track limits. There we go. Confirmed there for Mr. Oliver. Babby in his Bentley and showing a correct livery this time. I like that. Very subtle but very Bentley-ish.
Yeah, they will be, if I'm not mistaken, him and Bob now, I'm not sure who the other teammate is, will be running the Bentley for the 12 hour. So, or for the 10 hour, sorry, for Imola.
Maybe they're doing 12. Not an ideal strat for a 10-hour race, but it's a strat nonetheless. Going to come in a bit of traffic here. So Steve Lewis, he's had some good gains, I think, this race. Babby's trying to pull that Bentley up. Oh, he needed to drop the anchor, and he's done all right.
It really is it's a tricky track to overtake. There's no, it's so hard to follow closely through the essential corners where you need to get right up to chuck of the car ahead. So very, very difficult unless the driver ahead makes a mistake. Getting a plain old, good old fashioned on-track overtake is very, very nearly impossible then.
Yeah, it's definitely a track for those that are patient. Or not in a rush. G'day there, Luke. G'day there, Matty. How are we, gentlemen?
See, currently I think Callum Gibbo, not sure, he should be the lead driver who has pitted. Not mistaken, I don't think Matt Lamb is still leading the race, so he hasn't pitted yet. Let me see, Paul Britt in the pits. Maddox and Stacey have completed their pit stops as well. J-Rat is currently one of the only drivers apart from Matt Lamb who has yet to pit. J-Rat starting from the back of the grid because of that quali ban. So interesting to see where he comes out after everything plays through all the pit stops.
Leaders are just having a quiet race so far.
Yeah, I must admit, last night in our race, it was some of the biggest gaps that I've seen, especially in like the top 5. Basically, it was like 10, 12 seconds, and then another 10 seconds, and then another 10 seconds. There were no tight races in that top 5, which is quite unusual to see, honestly.
Yeah, as forgot who said it in the practice server. It's the DAFA effect. So, do you guys know DAFA?
Well, I've seen him every now and then on track, but he's generally up way ahead in the distance.
Yeah, so he's like the Indonesian equivalent of Dylan Tan. So DAFA's, I think, 15 years old. He's still a kid, and yet he's pulling out all these fast laps on us.
He's also a go-karting champion, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
So I don't feel as bad for losing to a literal child, because he is legit just fast in real life and in the game. So, but it does make me quite excited for final series, because we have a couple of drivers who will be giving some of the more well-known names in OR a very good go, as we see Babs. don't know how he avoided
My
it. There.
goodness.
There was another
Torpedo.
extra coat of paint on that Bentley, and he hit him there. Fortunately, he managed to avoid.
Brakes go. brrr.
Perhaps his butt went there for a second as he was hoping he was going to put it up.
Yeah, he's just going a little bit deeper with his braking and just trying not to get caught out there by the car ahead as press brakes a little bit sooner, which is something you've got to negotiate in all motorsport. But I wouldn't be surprised if Babby gets a move done very soon. He's showing a bit of pace here. But where's he going to get that move done? See again? Oh, Stevie Lewis left the screen door open. Flies come inside. But Babby couldn't get past.
He may have left the door open, but he had a fly swatter, so he managed to get them out of there.
It's coming now. It's coming now. It's coming now under brakes. No.
That's just great defense by Lewis. He's not defending when he doesn't need to. Trusts himself on the brakes to be able to outbrake Babby there, so he's just doing what he needs to do. And Babby needs to get something done, but he's not really looking all that confident in terms of getting a move done at the moment.
Yeah, it's really hard to make a move at the end of this straight too, because it's just such an awkward couple of corners before bomb hole. I'm not sure the Bentley's got that much legs to get it done before the corner here. So maybe it's the final corner. He's going to be eyeing off a move, or turn one. That's deep. He's pulled it up. He's a machine.
Pulled it up, but lost a couple of tenths on the exit there. And oh, this is not a curve you want to hit. That is the only curve that I've legit died on this track where it just throws you off. So you really want to avoid that. This is such a tricky corner to carry all of the speed. You don't want to dip a wheel on the grass. It will really impact your braking into the final corner, and they both negotiated that well. It's interesting to see it's clouding over a little bit. It looks a little bit more overcast, but fortunately no rain on that forecast.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot cloudier. I don't think it's going to rain. No, it won't rain now. So split red arrow is our final hope for a wet race at Snetterton. Just further back.
Bubbles
is
us.
better.
Sorry. Ooh,
She whiz! I just caught it. I could feel that in me waters. John Red going very slowly there. Keller.
Keller is a freaking Jedi. Yeah, how does he miss these incidents? He missed one at the start of the race as well by just
It's like
managing to avoid it.
he's a cat.
Oliver, what is happening to his ping? That is quite interesting. He is in Australia, is he not?
Well, maybe not. Yeah, that is rocket ship. Oh,
Oh, and Dickinson saves it. Oof, nice of Pat Oliver to wait for him there. Very well saved by Dickinson in the Porsche. And,
I think the ping's played a bit of a part there. He doesn't. He looks crabby, like as in crabbing across the track, not as in angry. But yeah, that car does not look like it's having a great time latency-wise. So we may go on board with someone else, and we'll go back on board with Babby. See if he gets past Stevie Lewis. Well,
that's
it's
too
crossed
much
up.
speed. Oh, Drifteroo, and he saves it, but he does lose out to Neil Wood.
How'd that go? Enjoyed that. Didn't enjoy the drift aspect of missing out, Babby, but I did enjoy the commentary from JP.
I mean, I'm sure he enjoyed the drift. It was quite spectacular looking. So, maybe not the fastest line, as we see a yellow flag there. I got 5 in turn 1. Tom Kidman, he is bogged up. Is that some kind of hardware failure?
We'll investigate some replays because we've got a bit to unpack now. Yeah, he's still there. That could be hardware failure. What's the first one we're looking for? Keller.
Alright, Keller. Bibles asking, is Babs the only Bentley this season? I don't think he is. He is the only one in this split. But is Zikri? I think Zikri is still in the Bentley. So we get a replay here.
Yep.
Michaela, ooh, Rad just exiting pits. Aston there checks up and somehow Michaela avoids it.
Oh, that is close.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Dickinson's just gone off.
Hopefully unassisted this time. So
Who else was
Oliver
on?
was... Oliver, where is Pat Oliver? He's way ahead of him now, so not sure what exactly happened there. Dickinson lost out to Sugden as well, so it must have been a fairly big old incident. Meanwhile, at the front, Matt Lamb is doing Matt Lamb things. 8 seconds ahead of Paul Britt, who is doing Paul Britt things, and he's about 8 seconds ahead of Robert Maddox, or 7 seconds. Get a replay here. This is Tom Kidman. It's all parked off. Oh, just loses it. And
Oh, that's a big hit.
Okay.
That car's dead.
That's why.
No longer. It has ceased to be.
It's more Audi, more like Ouchdy. Sorry, that was terrible, but
What's there now? Where is this replay of Dickinson?
just want to give a shout out to Joshua Vettiger. He's back up into P7. He's had a pretty solid recovery. I mean, he was down in about, I think, P16 after the lap 1 incident. So, fantastic recovery by him there. Replay here of Dickinson. Does Oliver do the same thing again? No, Dickinson does it all by himself. And he is off on his way to Brands Hatch. So, manages to get back on track, but loses out to an additional position against Chad Sugden there. Did Furcalini change his livery? Is that him in the Aston?
Yes.
Why? He had such a nice livery.
I'm sending it. That's a scary thought.
Is that a cat? No, I don't know.
See,
That's
there's plenty more to it that I'm missing. That's pretty in depth. Personal computer courier, so someone maybe understands what this livery is all about because it's put a lot of work into it.
It's a nice livery. It's just not as nice as his old one is. But regardless of his livery, he was just overtaken by Michele there, and he is now under pressure from our AM leader, James Lawrence, of just went Goodwood. And Stockton is quite a little bit behind us. Pro-Ams, we have Chad Sugden leading now after Dickinson's recent excursion. Sean Miller in P3 in the Pro-Am class. So your championship contenders doing well in most of the classes.
Yeah, things have really spread out now.
Oh, that's Stockton.
That's a breaker marker. So I think that's all the braking markers, except for the turn marker. So they're all gone for turn 2.
Luckily, with most of the British track, there's always a convenient yellow patch of grass that you can use as a braking marker. So
Rob Maddox, is this... what podium number would this be this season? He's had a cracking season.
been on the podium pretty much every race so far, I think.
Had a bit of a patch there where he had a bit of sim racing bad luck, but sometimes you just got to keep driving, just drive through it. That'll happen to everyone, as JP's experiencing this season.
What? Bad luck?
Proski is going great. Yes, he is. That is confirmed. We can confirm that. This is a work of art, this livery, literally.
Yeah, that is certainly an upgrade over last season's livery, and actually really nicely done. So Rob Maddox got a win in Paul Ricard on the reverse grid race. he got second at Brands Hatch, and he's 6th at Mazzano. So he's been on the podium every round so far, apart from Mazzano. Pretty solid showing from him so far. Also explains why he's leading the championship, just being consistently up there and getting good results, avoiding the dramas, which is always a challenge.
Did you say 6 points clear of Lamb?
I don't think I specifically said that. No, he's about 40 points clear of Ram. 60 points clear of Ram, actually.
60 points clear of Lamb, okay.
He's 6 points clear of Bettiger at the moment.
I knew there was a 6 in there somewhere, so I'll stick with that.
Wood still ahead of Babs, so as we've seen before, Babs struggling to generate an overtake, and now he has 2 cars ahead of him that he would need to overtake, so he'll be a little bit frustrated with himself for that. Also be interesting to see this race. The temperatures has dropped. It was 22-32 at the beginning of the race, I think, and it's dropped quite a lot, so a couple of drivers may have been caught out, got their tyres a little bit under pressure for the second stint. And the car may not be behaving quite the same way it did as the first stint.
That's a good point. Vote for your driver of the day in chat. Who do you think deserves to be in that top 4? And put a vote up in YouTube chat. It's obviously going to be hard to go past Lamb, Britt. Maddox started in 4th, so he swapped around with Stacey. Who else has had a great drive? Doug Wilson's come from 12th, Oliver from 11th. Who else? Josh Vedica's up 1. And this is a nice little battle.
Would Josh Vedica up only 1 position on track, but as mentioned earlier, he's been on that recovery path for this race, so fantastic performance there by him.
That's very true. Sugden, where did Sugden start? He's 14th, he's had a good race. Yeah, nominate your driver in chat.
Sugden's first pro and win, says Megan D. That is a surefire way to curse somebody.
Yes.
Ooh, side by side into a bomb hole. This is going to be interesting. And Neil Wood just backs out of it, so it's not quite as interesting as I once anticipated. So, Babs versus Lewis, round 2 fight. Let's see if he can get something done in this final 9 minutes. Looks as though Jamie Conboy had an incident there. No, sorry, McKellar. With a return to garage, so it must have been a fairly large incident or potentially some kind of hardware failure.
He hasn't had much luck as well this race. Hopefully not hardware. He's got a new rig tonight, which I believe he's currently packing up and sending back.
Currently only 1 car on track with a penalty after the pit stops have played out. It's Tom McDonald with that 15 seconds. So had a bit of a rough start, a couple of penalties earlier on in the race, but things have settled down, not too many whoopsies going around, and not too many ornaments on the Christmas tree, fortunately. Get another look here at McKellar, and just curb off death.
Is that the corner where Hobbs lost it, or was that a bit later? Couldn't tell if that was turn 1 or not.
No, I think that was onto the back straight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is turn.
Yeah.
Same reasoning though, that green stuff. Oh, Wood's avoided.
Yeah, during my practice and even during the race, my biggest frustration here is it's not the fact that the curbs pull you off, it's the fact that they don't always pull you off. So you can take the curb 1 lap and the car is absolutely fine, and then the next lap it just yeets you, so there's no prediction way.
Yeah, that is frustrating. It's out of things, but with its circuit.
Yeah, exactly. So if you know it's going to yeet you off, you just avoid it entirely, and you know that it will happen. But if you're not 100% sure it's going to happen, See Sean Miller, he is right up the chuff of Dickinson here. This is on the podium for the Pro-Ams. He's looking to get that P2. Great run out of turn 1 into turn 2, not quite close enough to make the move work, but he's piling the pressure on. We've seen Dickinson made a little mistake earlier. Maybe Miller can force him into another one as they come into the beginning of the second sector here.
Muller's got to work hard for that overtake because Porsche's very great out of the exits, while the McLaren's on the lower side of things in terms of acceleration and top speed. So it's going to be hard for him to try and make a move. I'll probably wait for a mistake and see what happens.
I think the McLaren should be very strong in the final sector, maybe. That long sort of right-hander that seems like the type of corner that would suit it. So maybe he can get something done here. But Oliver with a very strong showing, actually, considering he's already served a drive-through. Oh, a little bit of a oop. I think he has some kind of inappropriate attraction to the rear ends of Porsches, so he just needs to dial that back a little bit. Luckily, so far, nobody has been harmed in the filming of this race.
That was a nice run from
his
him.
internet settled down too.
This is gonna be...
This is close. He's done enough though.
Ooh, Wilson.
Oh, that Porsche wanted to kick out, didn't it? So Oliver up to 8th.
And Matt Powell with a good point in chat. Sean must be very conflicted of the idea for having to overtake a Porsche, as he has already done it.
Oh.
He's not that conflicted. He's gotten over himself very quickly and just made it happen.
Interesting to see how that happened. But yeah, did it in a lot less time than I expected.
Paul Brett dealing with a blue flag of Lawrence there, and he still has Bertolini to deal with. Lawrence backs out of it just as they get to turn 1 there. Nothing really to play for here for Brett as well. He is just doing some laps until at the end of this race. Same for Matt Lamb at the front and Rob Maddox in P3. Oof. Very close there. Bertolini backs out of it. Will Lawrence be able to get close enough to maybe benefit from this? Not quite. Field spread on the, when you look at the track map, is quite a block. There's so many big gaps which you don't necessarily always see. And speaking of big gaps, there's certainly not one of those. Tom McDonald right up the rear of Convoy here. Is he going to try and send it into? Of course he is. Convoy avoids him. Quite smart there. He knows McDonald has that penalty, so bit of an aggressive move there, but good awareness by Convoy there to avoid the contact.
Yeah, cut-right reflexes there by JC to get out of the way. So just Tom just gets himself caught up a little bit sometimes by just being a little bit overzealous. But he's got that penalty there, and I don't think he's going to get JC by 15 seconds. But yeah, got to be careful, because that's how you get yourself in trouble and how you get tangled up.
Yeah, it's the type of move that could very well cause an incident. Oh, Neil Wood going fairly wide there. I don't think that was involved with anybody else, but Babs must be getting pretty frustrated with the back of that Ferrari. Not really able to get anything done on Mr. Crispy Bacon himself, Steve Lewis. Really defending very, very well so far.
He has. He's driven very nicely. Babby is no slouch. The Bentley is a little bit, but he's just out there to have fun. A bit more relaxed, he's saying. Guarantee you he's not relaxed right now on his stream. He's probably really wound up by this Ferrari, but...
Yeah, he was having a right old whinge earlier today. He had no sleep. He's been frustrated at work, and he's operating on like an hour of sleep. So, yeah, this will only compound his frustration, I would say. But Yeah, I think he's out there to have fun, and getting into a good little battle with clean defense is definitely a good way to have fun on the racetrack.
Yeah, you can't expect too much of being in that car, which is not as competitive as it once was, but it's great to see it out there because I wish the Bentley was still half decent.
Yeah, it's still my favorite car in ACC. I just can't really drive it if you want to compete, unfortunately. It's just not good enough at many tracks. So, yeah, Matty Lamb, he is in a class of his own. I'm sure he would be able to compete in a Bentley.
Yes, Matthew Lamb, next season, please. Bentley, from you. We'll also allow the Nissan.
Fair enough.
Alright, man.
Only the old Nissan, though, not the new one.
Yes.
just to make it a real challenge.
1974 Skyline. No, actually pretty going right.
Yeah, Tarquin making a good point in chat there. JC avoided that incident, and he races without any form of a mirror on in his game. So
What?
that's quite interesting. Yep.
By choice, or it's just
Yeah, by choice. He doesn't like it. No, he doesn't like it. He doesn't want to race with it. He doesn't need it. He doesn't want it. So he just uses his Jedi powers to sense when there's a car behind him and manages to avoid it.
Well, if you've got Jedi powers, you obviously don't need it, do you?
He
But it
has
doesn't need
also.
the steering wheel then.
I was watching one of his streams a little while ago when he was racing at Kailami, and he pulled the most Chad move that I've ever seen anybody pull in ACC, where he wanted to know what lap time the car ahead of him did. And instead of just waiting, whoa, Babsy loses it into bomb hole. This time he's not able to save it. That's going to cost him a couple of positions there. But JC, on the straight, instead of just waiting for the little pop-up to show what lap time the car did, he shift arrowed to the car ahead of him to check his time, and then back to his own car while he was driving down the straight.
What? That's brave. That is brave.
That is astonishing.
Speaking of astonishing, Matthew Lamb, he has been faultless. He has absolutely dominated Split Blue here in the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series. Comes across the line for another win. Convoy is flashing us. I don't think he's finished the race yet, so I'm not sure why he is flashing. Paul Brett, he's done what he could in a car that is not quite as fast as Lamb's Porsche, and he manages to cross the line in P2. And Robert Maddox, continuing his hot streak of form, he finished on the podium in P3. Chris Stacey in the Speedy Mike AMG crosses in P4. He was putting some pressure on Maddox earlier in the race, but eventually Maddox was able to pull the gap. Bob Now and Gibbons, these guys have been attached at the hip for the entirety of this race, basically. But Gibbo comes out on top, finishes in the top 5. Bob Now P6. Joshua Vetica, after a strong recovery, finishes in P7. Paddy Oliver will be the next car to cross the line. He has one more corner to deal with. And finishing in P8 after serving a drive-through and on a return to OR Sprint Series. So good result for him there. Doug Wilson in the Artmobile in P9. And we wait for Chad Sugden. He is under pressure from Sean Miller, but there's no more time for Miller to get anything done. And Sugden will take his first Pro-Am win. Sean Miller in P2 in class.
Well done, Chad. Great to see. Stevie Lewis has managed to hold off Babby Wood and co. Babby has departed the server already.
I mean, there may be a hint of frustration involved in that, I would say.
I think he needs to go to bed and try get some sleep. Goodbye, Bollard. Where is it gone? Is he yeeted off into oblivion?
Green light, give it all you can.
Oops, that is the wrong button. Alright, read him out, big fella.
We get our final look at the results here. Matthew Lamb, as we said, with the fastest lap, started on pole. The Grand Slam for him. He wins the race. Paul Brett in P2, Robert Maddox in P3. Looking at the Pro-Ams, we have Chad Sugden, Sean Miller, and Will Dickinson in P3. And for your AMs, we have James Lawrence, John Stockton, and Brett Horsell in P3.
And Sean Hard's made his first race tonight in the series, and he wins the Grand Slam in Silver Class.
And I missed that.
Well done. Now, moment of truth. Do we get a race over in red?
I haven't seen any comments in chat that it's moist yet, so I don't think so.
It's normally a pretty big sign, isn't it?
But speaking of moist, somebody who makes me moist, Justin Tate has joined us in the comms box. Welcome, Justin. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you.
Sorry, that's a bit of an inappropriate welcome.
No,
but
it's never inappropriate with me, mate.
Look, far out. When you said that, I've completely forgot what I was doing, and I entered my Facebook password into the fucking server. What am I doing? I'm just picturing Jay being moist. Dear.
Nobody wants to see that.
Well, yeah. It's in my head now, so
Green light, give it all you can.
it lives there.
I'll send you a photo later, don't worry. It's fine.
Sounds great.
It's not moist, but it is overcast, so maybe it seems as though it's fairly similar conditions to what we had last night in our server. Hopefully, there's a little bit more wind here, 1 kilometer an hour, so maybe they may have some moisture. Tatey, we haven't spoken to you yet, so your thoughts on Snetterton, sir?
Was that to me? Sorry, I missed that.
Yes, you are
Sorry.
Tate. You are just
Yes,
Tate. So,
sorry.
yes.
I realized I have audio going on in the background, and I was getting double voices. I'm like, wait, he's talking to me. Sorry. Thoughts on? Repeat it again. I missed the last bit.
So look what you've done, JP. You've mentioned moisture, and we've all gone to water.
Yeah.
Okay, we're racing at Snetterton,
Oh,
the
yeah.
racetrack in
Yeah,
the
the
UK.
racetrack.
So your
Yes.
thoughts on the
Is
racetrack?
this sim racing?
I have.
I think we've broken Tate.
Oh.
So
I'm back. Yeah, see, so much moisture, even my internet's dropping out. No, it's back.
Send help, chat.
Send help. I haven't played it on ACC, but I have played it on a number of different games, of course, because it's on a bunch of different games. I think it could be a bit of fun. Like, actually, it can be enjoyable. I wonder what it's like in this category, if that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of the games I played it in, I'd always loved to have the super tuned up fast car on it. I think like Project Cars and Gran Turismo were like the games that I played this on, sort of thing. So something where it just had heaps of horsepower and no turning, because it's got lots of straights.
yeah, I would say we've raced it in the M2, and that was heaps of fun. It's so much fun in a slower car that is not too affected by the curbs, because the curbs are just awful in ACC. It really grabs onto the car, but in the GT4s and like the M2, it's absolutely fantastic fun.
Yeah, all right. I mean, it definitely has lots of passing opportunities. Well, I believe it has lots of passing opportunities. No, it doesn't.
Not so much now.
Not so much, because it's quite narrow, I guess. It's not very wide.
It's also it's a tricky track to follow on in terms of visibility and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
getting the good runs out of the important corners is nigh on impossible. And there's only a couple of like really heavy braking zones. So yeah, very very tricky, as we saw in the previous race,
yes.
to get an on-track overtake.
Clicked it has the infield bit as well on the version. The one I don't think I've driven this exact layout. The one I have goes straight up the back straight all the way to the end.
Yeah. So you turn left after turn 2, basically.
Yeah, and then you just go straight for ages. Yeah.
And that's basically, it's just like a glorified NASCAR track at that stage, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, this layout looks nice.
It's a super tricky infield section because, firstly, like I said, the curbs are pretty much awful, but it's also just really technical and
It's bumpy too, right?
it's fairly bumpy. The track itself is not too bad in terms of the bumps, but if you hit the curb in the wrong way, then you get bumped.
That's probably what I remember from the bumps.
But it does take a real pro driver to get a good result here. And speaking of one of those, we are joined by Mr. Sean Bubb now. How are we, sir?
Good evening. Yeah, look, that was a bit of a sweaty race for me. Trying to keep up with Gibbo. He is a defensive god.
Have I sent the moisture the wrong direction or what? Sorry.
Sean missed the comment earlier, so anyway, when you watch this stream back, Sean, just watch the introduction and you'll understand why moisture is an issue at the moment, because not enough towels in the world, I don't think.
Well, it's mostly an issue for us, not so much for the drivers at this stage. So.
I will definitely have to view this at some point tomorrow.
You'll definitely view it. That's what I'll say. I'm gonna jump out for now. Have a great call, gents. I'll be right here in the nud.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Good to hear your voice back. And but no, had a good race. Looked like fun. You put a bunch of pressure on Gibbo, not really able to get a move done, but still P6. Nothing to sneeze at.
No, as I was saying before, Gibbo is a very tough individual to try and get an overtake on, and I tried to do the undercut, but forgot that I hadn't practiced the pit entry, so that was a bit interesting. And then I noticed that I also failed to turn my ignition off initially when I stopped, so yeah, come out about 7 seconds behind him with a lot of effort to try and catch that ground back up. But these things happen. It was a good race though, good fun.
Yeah, it was it looked a bit more eventful than what we had going last night. So quite a few incidents, a couple of big sticks by the stewards. Hopefully Split Red will be able to have a slightly cleaner race. You were just ahead of the dramas at the start, I think. You were the car ahead of the incident in turn 1, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I was the car behind, and I decided to go way left and Tokyo drift on the grass around the outside of him.
Okay. Didn't actually see that.
It was sketchy because definitely brown flag moment from my end.
Well, worked out okay. You managed to avoid all of the drama. So we have Split Red going here, and currently the championship is pretty close. Mr. Lucas Burrs in his GTR, he is doing things that not many people are able to do in a GTR. He is currently leading the championship, 435 points, closely followed by Chris Tsang with 407, and then Brad Cook in third, 321 points. And then in the midfield of the pros, it's fairly close there. Leading Pro-Am is Mitchell Bendyke in the Ugly Mobile. He has 183 points, followed by Andrew Skinner and Stefan Bechtold, who are fairly close to each other. And then Benjamin Willemsen is leading the AMs with 92 points, Brad Skinner 78 points, and Sharif Omar with 66 points, tied with Kanahari Hutama, also on 66 points. So a couple of close little battles going on. The top two, Burrs and Tsang, have been all but inseparable so far this season. So hopefully we'll be getting a little bit more of that today.
Yeah, just last race, just never more than 2 seconds apart for more than a lap, and then it was just within about 1 second to 3/10 for 90% of the race. It was insane. It was.
And it was exactly the same at Brands and at Paul Ricard as well when they were racing each other.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Tang in the practice service, but we saw Burrs do a 44.9, which for anybody who has done any laps around here will realize just how ridiculously fast that is, and especially considering what car it's in.
I'm pretty sure there's a section he cut out that there's like an extra hack to get that time, because
it seems the only reasonable way.
Yeah, there has to be something. I mean, I don't know where that time is, but apparently it's on the track. I'm just not skilled enough to find it.
Yeah, I was going to say, the steward's checking his car and stuff like that, like, come on, guys. He's just got ridiculous pace.
Yeah, and cocaine is a hell of a drug, but they don't test for that, so it's fine. But I hit a PB in quali, and I was like super happy with it. It was a good lap, and that is about 9/10 off of what he's able to do in a car that is not as good as the Aston around here. So yeah, and Tang in the BMW. BMW is very strong around here. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of battling going up for the lead.
It's looking pretty decent at this front three at the moment, all separated by a couple tenths, 4 tenths to second, and then another 4 tenths to third, and then only 2 tenths to Barker sitting in P4 at the moment. So I'm sure they'll all come creeping down in their times. Hopefully those gaps close up. It'd be very good racing if they do.
Is Billy Ebenhauser is a new name? I'm not familiar with that name. Is that they're not on the standings as well? So it feels like this is a debut for them. Unless I am missing something entirely.
I do not remember seeing that name last week when Justin and I were doing the comms, so I dare say is... Oh, there you go, can confirm. Debut is correct. So welcome to the Sprint Series and Split Red.
Currently sitting in P6, so a fairly solid opening sort of salvo in the battle for the Pro-Am lead in this qualifying session. Only 2 tenths off Stefan Bechtold. Yeah, this is going to be... I don't know. We have to ask Chat. We didn't ask in the previous one. What do we reckon for pole time? As we see Lucas Burst there with a 45.5. I'm going to say a 45.241.
And is that with Burst getting that, or someone else going to challenge
with
him?
Burst.
Oh. Never mind. Just parking it off the track after probably making an error. Resetting the pits, I'd say. Yeah, a few people doing that now.
Yeah, probably only put in enough fuel for that half qualifying run, do a first flyer, adjust your pressures if they are a little bit low, drop that fuel back out, and you get another 8 minutes or another 3 or 4 cracks at it if you've got the fuel for it. It's pretty much what I did. Well, I didn't do as well. I think I came out of this with about 6 minutes or 4 minutes remaining, so definitely dropped the fuel and just prayed.
Yeah, we saw Matty Lamb in the previous qualifying. He did not put a lap in until I think about 7 or 8 minutes into qualifying. He invalidated quite a few times there, which is very easy to do here. So good to get that banker in, as we see from a couple of the drivers there in the top 6. Just sort of putting a solid enough time in to at least start somewhere near the top 10, but then pushing on a little bit later to try and improve.
Unfortunately, that is definitely the way I do my qualifying. I am not a very good qualifier. My qualifiers is generally only maybe a couple of tenths faster than my race at best. It's just if I nail the lap. So I definitely choose the fuel up for at least 4 or 5 laps, get those tyres in the window, and just slowly try and chip away at it. Probably not the right strategy, but it seems to do okay for me at the moment.
Well, sorry, Justin, go ahead.
That's right. I was going to say, I've always found when I play this game, like it's always at least lap 2, if not lap 3 to 4 before you get a really good time. That lap 3 is when I find everything switched on. Depends on the length of the track, of course, but my setups generally I'm struggling to get the tire pressure up enough to be able to do a lap 1 hot lap. So yeah, just giving yourself 2 or 3 laps that you can just try and nail one of them is a good bet.
Yeah, with the current tire model, it's generally your first lap is in most cases never going to be your fastest lap. So you generally try and go for that second and third lap, and then after that they start slowly dropping off a little bit. Sometimes on certain tracks you can still get like a solid lap on that 4th lap, but generally you have 2 really, really good push laps in a set of tires before they start degrading a little bit.
I was going to say, as the only person out of the 3 of us, as far as I know, I have never made a shootout, but you have, JP. What is the strat when it comes to making sure in that 2nd or 3rd lap your tyres are well and truly on point?
Go brrr, basically.
Oh, foot right, foot down.
Exactly.
Right.
It's now generally in the shootouts we put the pressures up like another click or 2 over what you would for a normal quali, just so they get up to pressure that's slightly earlier. That's not exactly the best line out of there. But Billy Ebenhauser here actually really making a strong debut, currently sitting in P4. But yeah, I mean, shootout is just put a little bit of less fuel in. You have enough fuel for 2 laps. Oop, 40. First, that's not my prediction. But it is a couple more laps, maybe improve.
Oh,
If
sorry, I was going to say, I would love to be a fly on the wall when you go and complain to Burst about him being faster than your predicted lap.
that's fine. I'll just let him have it. I'll ask the stewards to remove the lap and tell him to do it again. Basically, that's seems like the best strat here. Chris Tang here, he's looking to improve. He's not really put a proper lap together yet. He's behind Stewie Matthews here, who pulls off into the pits. Will he improve? This looks like a fastest lap. I don't think it's going to be close to Burrs yet. It does improve to a 46 flat, which is good enough for P2, but still 8/10 off of Lucas Burrs.
Looks like he's going for another lap.
He's
Yeah, he's. See if he can nail this lap. Is his skin just not loaded, or yeah, his skin's just not loaded, right?
It just was like a pure black beamer to me.
Yeah, he had a
No.
Z Challenger livery last week.
Malik always just having the shows this funny every time. Thanks, Malik. This skin
Malik-
ate all the skins in one.
Moloch is what you call an enabler. If you
Enabler.
don't show it, he won't make it. So it's ugly and it's unnecessary.
Yes.
I think Malik deep down knows that you love this one the most, Peach. That's why it shows the most screen time for you.
The thing is, he has Mitchell Bendyke just ahead of him on track, who used to be our ugly livery champion, and he is just like, he's not even in the same league. Like this is like the alien level of split screen. I want to say I hate Mole, but I don't. I just hate what he's doing at the moment.
Ask and you shall receive.
It feels
Sad
bad now.
Pepe. There we go. He invalidates, as he deserves to do, given the livery. But meanwhile, Brad Cook has moved back up into P2. He's done a high 48. So Chung has some work cut out for him. Cooley was doing sort of mid 45s in practice, so he'll be looking to improve as well. Hopefully he's a little bit down the order where he won't be battling with other cars, so we don't have to see him on stream. And Shady Samuel, I'm surprised where he is at the moment. He is a very, very fast driver, so he should be poking his nose up towards that sort of top 5 there as well.
Yeah, I think last week he qualified top 5. I know he was sitting third for a long time in the race before I think it was the second last lap. He got a DT potentially from memory, which put him in the order a little bit. But yeah, definitely one of the faster drivers of the split. So definitely looking in the last couple of minutes to see a faster time from him.
Yeah, he also has a fairly newborn child, so he doesn't have as much time as he used to have to practice. And he's been struggling a little bit. He's also our teammate in the Enduro, so hopefully he can get a good result here and get some confidence going. Not had the best season so far.
Oh, it's never too early to teach a young one to drive.
Yeah, try telling my wife that I want to spend time on the rig with a child, but she doesn't allow it for some reason. Have screen time or something like that. And Sam has put it into the pits. He won't have enough time for another lap. So he is settling for P3 at the moment if nobody else improves.
Yeah, must have invalidated somewhere or something like that. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of drivers are now either on their final push, realizing that they haven't. They've got just that one more flying, so they haven't got enough fuel on board, or you're not going to make it around that lap. Maybe it's time to just pack it up, get ready for the long hour ahead, get your strategy sorted, and then yeah, head down, see how you go.
You see Shady Samuel here coming across the line. He'll be looking to improve. Where does he go? He goes P7, which is not where he would want to be. He does have enough time to do one more lap. Is he able to improve? Not the Aston's best track, but I know that Shady is capable of more than what he's delivered so far. So he'll definitely be looking to improve. Burrs still on track. Chris Cooley still on track. And a couple of drivers have given up on this session in particular, so won't be too much shuffling going on, but let's see. Look at your Coleman is in P21 and 4 seconds off the pace. And being a defending champion for sprint splits, it's a bit weird. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there.
could possibly just being caught up in traffic during his qualifying session, because he is normally well and truly up at the pointy end. But just wanted to point out there with Samuel's time. That's a 46.4. That is not exactly a slow time either, but that is still incredibly quick. But the front boys definitely. Oh, that's a very nice slide. Good catch.
I mean, it looked impressive. It wasn't particularly fast, but oop. Get a little action, a replay here. Oh, just got a little bit tight in there and rear end let go, but good little save. Benny Minter is saying Jay Berman has started from the back of the pack all season. Okay, not sure why. Just enjoying the extra challenge.
I'm not sure whether he has or hasn't actually. Well, if it is, then maybe he enjoys the battle through the midfield.
As we see, Chris Cooley here is up 2 tenths currently as he comes into the middle sector. 2 tenths will be enough for P2. Loses a little bit on the exit there. This is a very tricky corner to get right, and then this upcoming corner is so important as he leads onto the straight. Will he get a good exit? Gets a bit wide there. That's going to cost him a 10 for 2. He will need to absolutely nail this final sector if he wants to still gain that second position. Coming into long hole now. Very tricky corner to get the braking right. Try and open this up, avoid the sausage, not like that. Loses him another 10th and a bit. He is bleeding time as this lap is going on. He will need to have an absolute miracle coming into the final sector. The onboard was perfectly fine. Didn't need this aerial view of delivery. Will he nail the final corner? It's a fairly good exit, but not good enough. That's not going to be good enough for P2. It might be good enough for the wall.
I was going to say, that looked like it was going to be good enough to permanently place the Doge on that tyre barrier for pit entry. For everyone to see on
Like
their
a
way
Bushman
in.
baiting. So it looks fairly overcast. And no rain predicted at the moment. But no wind either. So fairly unlikely that we will have rain.
Funny you say about the overcast, because that was one thing I wasn't prepared for the race. Was that after the pit stop, I come out and I thought, yeah, this is all fine, let's go. And then it started to get that real overcast, and then I started losing my brake markers, because I threw a wrong thing. I was using my brake markers with some of the tyre marks on the track, and when that sun dropped, they just started to disappear. So I started to be overslowed into corners or going a bit late, and I was like, oh no, I've got to figure out what I'm doing here.
Did you have problems with your tire pressures in the second stint? Because it dropped quite a lot from the start of the race towards the end of the race.
I kind of did a big brain strat. I actually bumped up everything on mine by 2 clicks at my pit stop, basing on the fact that I was going to potentially have it drop cooler. Because yeah, I noticed that through my stint, my lefts were sitting probably that 27.3 mark, and my rights were just like that 27.5. So I thought a couple clicks up across the board would be decent. Yeah, it sort of sat me back in that 27.6 across the board, so it wasn't too bad for the next stint.
Yeah, I was talking to Mull about it, wondering whether some drivers will be getting caught out by that, because it was about the ambient temp only dropped by 1 degree, but the track temp dropped by about 4 by the end of the race. So this was quite a big change. So maybe some drivers just got them a little bit under or something and lacking performance. But looking at the grid, we have our starting order with Lucas Burrs in P1, where he generally tends to be Brad Cook in P2, Chris Sank, P3, Chris Cooley, P4, Moyin Taufik, P5, David Barker, P6, Shady Samuel, P7, Billy Ebenhauser with a very good performance on a debut, taking the Pro-Am pole, and P8 on the grid. Stefan Bechtold in P9, Luke Johnson is P10.
It's good to see. We've actually got the AM there. He's only in P12 as well, which isn't too bad. That's pretty pacey, especially up this far in the grid as well. So hopefully they'll be looking to capitalise on that and potentially getting top 10.
Yeah, well, if Split Blue start was anything to go by, there could be some incidents coming into turn 1, so hopefully everybody is able to avoid that.
Yeah, there's not much room on that turn 1 apex. especially with that. There's like the 2 bumps. The one on the entry. Well, there's lots of room out there, yeah, but I don't think you really want to be out that side of the racing track, unfortunately. But yeah, there is those 2 bumps, as you know, Page, one on entry and then one on the second apex as well.
The second apex one is awful.
Oh yeah, you got to make sure you hit that right, otherwise you will be an aeroplane at some point.
Yep, if you hit the second apex on the inside of the corner, then you generally land somewhere around here. And if you land somewhere around here, you generally end up somewhere around there, roughly, say there, yeah, somewhere around there, and you generally come to a stop just after the orange barrier, I would say.
Yeah, about there generally where those tyre marks are. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's such a... in all the practice I did, I only really sort of had one big, like, actual death at the exit of bomb hole. But I had so many like close calls and just like near death experiences. So yeah, it makes it fun in the race. But hopefully this race will be a little bit more competitive than we saw in some of the other splits so far.
Yeah, well, we're about to find out as we're coming up through the final. Oh, sorry, we're going through sector 2 at the moment, so they'll be going double file somewhere, probably just after that right hand at the end of the straight, and then we'll be able to see how competitive Split Red will make this for us.
I'm getting a feeling in my left nipple, which is generally quite accurate, that Burs is just going to run away with this a little bit. It really doesn't look like Chang and Cook will have the pace to stick with him.
Like just checking on your left nipple there for you.
Yep, it looks different here. I don't know what's going on there. I always knew I'm empty on the inside.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that I can say checking this is a good stat or not, but hopefully we have no safety car, although we see cars go a little bit wide there. Maybe struggling to maintain some brake temps or riding the brakes. I think like the Aston has to do the brake boosting, otherwise you have a very sad time. So that may have been the incident there, but we're coming around the final sweeper. Safety car has pulled away, so they'll be joining into the pits momentarily, and we'll get this race underway.
Yep, as we see Lucas Burst in the Need for Speed Underground inspired GTR leading us towards the start of this race. Brad Cook in the PerTech Honda, and then we have somebody else. Where's Chang? Chang in P6? Did he qualify P6? Or did he get a penalty? I think he got
I got a penalty, I believe.
a penalty, yeah. So we have Moyen Tawfiq and Chris Cooley on the second row as Lucas Burst approaches the start-finish line. We are about to go green.
Green line,
Matt.
green line. Go, go, go.
There it is.
And a Burst with a fairly good start. Brad Cook on the outside there. Tawfiq looks like he had a good start. Cooley very slow off the line. Oh, very nearly into the back of Barker there. Manages to keep it out of him. Sung gets the position. Shady Samuel right on the back of Cooley there. Cooley defends early. And they nearly make contact coming into the apex there, but manages to avoid each other. Sung with a bit of a moment on the exit there that is going to allow Cooley up the inside of turn 3 here. Very tricky corner to go side by side. Sung gives him all the space and tries to cut back in for the little switcheroo there, but Cooley gets a very strong exit and he is already looking ready to defend here. Shady Samuel a little bit behind this battle, as you see Sang there. Just make that car nice and big in the mirror of Cooley there. Nothing happening at the moment between those two drivers. A little bit of a wide line there by Mr. Ebenhauser, but manages to keep it going. And Lukey Johnson right ahead of him on track. So a couple of drivers have lost out a little bit at the start there, but overall it has been very clean so far as we are about halfway through a lap coming onto the back straight at the moment. A couple of very close battles towards the back of the field here. They are line astern now. We come into bomb hole for the first time. A very, very tricky corner. Very easy to miss your braking. Will we see some incidents as they come in towards the front of the field? There are no yellow flags at the moment. No slow cars. Currently, I don't even see any sand or dust being picked up at the moment. A little bit on the exit there. Great exit from Aaron Lee there. Scotty Rockford a bit slow. forces Lee to jump onto that curb and manage to keep facing straight. That is Willemsen in the Audi with a big old drift. He is drifting back onto the track, holds the brakes, and he gets collected there by Neighbor, unfortunately. That is a big incident, but fortunately only the 2 cars involved there. Say that as we see Azrin Putra, they rejoin from Narnia as well. And then we have Aaron Lee parked on the outside of the final corner there, so another incident there, all kicked off in the final sector.
That is just purely unfortunate too. If that car was holding brakes, which it looked like it appeared to, there's not much you can do when you're skating on the grass and hopefully that you can become predictable. Unfortunately, some cars get it right and others get it wrong, and I think that was just a unfortunate incident there for that Beamer coming through there at the wrong place, wrong time moment. But as we see back at the front here, Burst has managed to get a bit of a jump on Cook here with a gap of 1.6 at the moment, but looking quite pacey well and truly there. I think there's a couple of cars there, a bit door to door there through the exit of turn 4 as they keep racing quite nicely here, nice and clean. Better than probably what the blue split start was. I mean, I didn't get to see it from the helicam or anything, but being in it, yeah, I'm glad these guys got through turn 1, especially unscathed, which is good to see.
Yeah, these guys were saving their dramas for the end of the lap there, so it really kicked off a little bit there, but everybody appears to be going. Nobody has dived off into the pits to repair damage, so maybe nothing too big, although I would imagine that BMW, I'm not 100% sure who it was. I think it may have been Omar, I said Neighbor earlier, but get a replay here. So it just takes a little bit too much of that curve, drifts it, and you are no longer in control of the car there. Brakes are locked up. He just really couldn't do much more than that. Such an awkward place to rejoin back on the track as well.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really, really hard. It's almost one of those ones where he was probably going slow enough. If he got off the brake, he would have just straightened up as soon as he hit the tarmac. But it's so hard to know what to do when you can see the whole field behind you and you're flying across the grass.
Maybe one of those cases where it's technically better to maybe not hold your brakes and try and sort of speed across the track so you don't make contact. Let's get a replay here. I think this was...
Oh, this is from the
Putra.
Beamer.
No, he can see it. But
Oh,
There's no time to react whatsoever. So the Ferrari went off, just avoiding him as well. Does he manage to keep it out of the wall? Yep, great. Well done there by Putra.
Yeah, when those split-second decisions, you're like, should I, shouldn't I? He was trying to do the right thing, but obviously I think tag the brakes probably a little bit too late there on the grass, and that's what caused it to more snap across the racing line there. But not much you can do, unfortunately. Did everything right by the rulebook, but yeah, just one of those things.
We get a view here of the battle for P10. I think it's currently Pete Chalmers at the lead of this train. Skinner Giacomin, who started in P21, is currently P12, so he's had an absolute monster of a start. And closely followed by Bechtold and Rockford right behind. So big old train of 5 cars here just duking it out for P10 at the moment.
I'm surprised to see Sang drop so far back at the start. He really, it's a bit odd for him to be that far back in the field since what we've seen last 3 weeks.
I do believe that was a 2-place grid penalty, potentially.
Oh.
So I think he qualified P4, and then, yeah, dropped 6, and then I think he had that little bit of a squirrel on the exit of turn 2 on the first lap, which allowed Hewley to sneak on through as well.
That makes a bit of sense.
Now he's stuck in a train of very fast cars that are going to be very difficult to clear as well. So as we see, Lucas Bears is already 3 seconds ahead of Brad Cook, and we are about 3 laps into this race. He's lapping in the mid 45s, which most pros would be very, very happy with in terms of qualifying pace. So just absolutely dominating. But yeah, the battle behind that is going to be fairly interesting. Brad Cook has a little bit of a gap over Taufik. But then from P5 downwards, there's a good old gaggle of cars there that are going to be battling it out. Mitchell Van Dyke very risky jumping on that curve there.
Yeah, there's a few curves here that you think, oh yeah, this is going to be alright, doesn't look that bad, and then as soon as your car touches it, you realise you have made a poor decision. Especially that one there we just came out of. That one's quite interesting as well. Same with this one, doesn't look that bad, but it will bite you if you're not prepared for it. as you see, Sang definitely liking the back of that Doge livery, the one that you love so much, Peach. Trying to look for a way to get around him for sure. There's a bit of weaving going on here, but that's play on. They're driving nice and safe.
I think he was
Oh,
trying
right.
to get Barker into a mistake there and did it fairly effectively. Chang trying to follow through.
Oh!
Risky, very dangerous there. Nobody really particularly aware. Is Samuel able to get through on Chang as well? Side by side with him. They are still side by side. Who is going to come out on top here? Samuel tries to take the corner. Unfortunately, there is a BMW parked on the apex, and he's not quite able to make it through Lucas Bursley's 8:45.4, which just made me throw up a tiny little bit in my mouth because that is ridiculously fast. But that was quite an interesting little incident there.
I was going to say, that is... I mean, technically, he had rights to being there, it was rights to the corner, but I think the bump past pushing him out a little bit wider. I'm not sure, luckily I'm not stewarding that, so I'm going to let that happen to the race control box and they can sort that out themselves. But I'm sure Samuel here will be going. I've got the opportunity to get past because I think I can, and he's going to have the accident all over the back end of that beamer. Very quick.
I got a feeling they got a little bit net coated there. It looks very bouncy. You know, when it bounces like that, it's sort of the game sort of ate the cars together and spat them out a little bit too. I really don't think they contacted that hard visually, but then all of a sudden one car was getting spat off. So yeah,
It's called a Kunos feature. Refer to it as.
who knows?
And Samuel was able to stay on track, so the contact wasn't all that bad, as we see. This is what happened to Aaron Lee on lap 1. So he has a BMW very close behind him. And Luca Giacomin sends it absolutely violently into the final corner, and that is going to be a slapping with the big stick yet again this season for Luca. So maybe he needs to start learning a lesson. Anyway, we continue racing. Ivan Hauser here in P7 on debut, leading the Pro-Ams. He is, he or she, I'm not 100% sure, they are performing incredibly well so far and starting to put some pressure onto the back of JD Samuel ahead.
Yeah, they looked very pacey in qualifying, but again, they had a small penalty as well. But they've made up the positions already, which is awesome to see. I wonder what happened to Bechtold, who was only 2/10 behind them in qualifying as well. So
I saw that John said in chat Stefan got bullied a little bit, so I'm not sure if he maybe got involved in some argy-bargy, as we see Luca Giacomo there with a drive-through, which is fair enough, but Bechtold here putting a lot of pressure on Skinner ahead of him, trying to get back on to that train ahead of them.
Where would you actually try to set up for an overtake here, Peach? I mean, I know I just spent an hour here, but with no luck to getting past Gibbo, but what would you try and do to your best ability?
I shall tell you in a second as we see a replay here. That was just not 100% sure what happened there. I mean, Chang sent it up the inside, and I think Barker maybe thought that he was going to back out or something, but yeah, a little bit of an
Because he
unfortunate.
didn't change his line at all, so it's hard to say that it was his fault when he was just driving in a dead straight line. But he was rapidly moving up the inside, so there's always that.
Yes, but it's such a tricky corner to go side by side as well. You know, there's only really one line through there, so yeah, it's an interesting one there. But yeah, Gorilla saying a drive-through is only worth about 19 seconds, so not the end of the wolf. That's a big old send by Barker there. Manages to avoid Lukey Johnson. They're not quite sure how.
Probably going to cost himself.
No, not quite.
Yeah, that could have been a big stick penalty there if they had volunteers, but as we see Jacoban here putting the pressure on Chalmers, going to try and stick it up the inside through turn 1 as Chalmers lets the door open, and away he goes. Thanks very much. Probably spooked him a little bit there with the inside line late braking, but got the job done nice and clean on that one. He'll be trying to make as much ground as he can here, knowing that he's got that DT penalty looming over his head. As we are looking at Cooley here, only half a second behind P3 battle, and we'll see what this Aston can do against the Honda. Even though he's faster than I am here, and I think he's about the same pace as you, if I'm not mistaken, Pete. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think our PVs are fairly close. I think he's about a tenth or so faster. But he tends to struggle a little bit in qualifying, as we've seen so far this season. Not really putting in the times that he's capable of. So he ends up in these battles that he doesn't want to be a part of. But we've seen a couple of incidents into that final corner, especially late on the brakes there. It's so easy to send one up the inside there because you're following so closely, you can't see your brake marker, and then all of a sudden it's on top of you. And it's so easy just to go a little bit deep on the inside there, as we saw with Johnson on the previous lap. See if Cooley is able to avoid that type of drama as they come into the final corner here. Mo Yin with a very tight line there, that's going to compromise his exit. Will Cooley be able to get anything done? I don't think he will be able to against that Honda acceleration, especially given the Aston's acceleration. Mo Yin staying nice and tight, taking the defensive line.
Gonna try to switch back here possibly, see if he can get a better exit and dive into turn 2. I thought he had a bit of a neck code issue there. It looked like he overslowed early, but no, respectful racing. Gotta keep putting that pressure on that Honda, see if you can force him into some kind of mistake, allowing the overtake to be very clean, hopefully.
He managed to force that mistake out of Barker a couple of laps ago at Bombhole, and maybe he will be able to do something similar to Taufik here. But to get back to your earlier question in terms of where to set up an overtake, I think the simple answer is in the pit stops, because it's so tricky to overtake here. But realistically, 15-second penalty there for Stewie Matthews for a collision on lap 1. Realistically, I would say turn 4 is one of the best options, as we see Stewie there coming into turn 4 currently. We do not see that. Apparently on the recovery path here, but going into turn 4 here, that is one of the better options if you get a good run out of turn 3, which is not a given. And then the only other real option is getting a fantastic run through turn 1 and sending it into turn 2, but the braking zones aren't really long or hard enough to get a really good overtaking send on the inside. So yeah, very tricky to generate a basic on-track overtake here.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty tough trying to figure out where I could possibly get Gibbo, but that never happened. As we see Benjamin here getting a penalty for an unsafe rejoin on, I think it was on lap 1 as well.
That was the Audi. That did the old drifteroo across the infield there. So unfortunate there for him. I mean, I think he did whatever he could there, but just one of those incidents where what's going to happen is going to happen regardless of your inputs. So yeah, fair enough from the stewards there.
As we see Aaron here recovering. Oh no, we've switched down because we can see that Backfold here is only 2 tenths behind Skinner. Definitely filling those rear vision mirror of the Beamer ahead. Looking every chance to get a fantastic exit out of turn 2 here to try and possibly back it up with an exit on turn 3 to send it up into turn 4, like you said, Peach. Is a good opportunity as the Beamer has a bit of a squirm, but doesn't unsettle the car too much. Size out, just gets his braking marker, keeps a bit of pressure on. Size it up, ready for the back straight potentially, because I know that if you have a bit of a poor entry onto the straight, you can be quite slow. Or as we see him go wide, potentially opening up the door here on the inside, and defended line well. Oh, and play on as we go round to the back straight.
Certainly lucky for Skinner in the BMW there that the car did not bounce more than it did. So he was able to keep it fairly straight, not really lose too much time there. But interesting to see in the top 3, it's already, the gaps are enormous already, and we're only 15 minutes into this race. Cooley still putting a little bit of pressure there, but I was saying in the first race, it's the most spread out fields I've seen in quite a long time in OOR, where there's very few like tight on track groups of battles. There's the odd like 1-2 cars, but there's not many groups that we normally see in the races.
Would you put that down to potentially knowledge of this track rather than the actual field itself?
I would say knowledge of track and also just the type of track, as we were discussing about the curbs, and it's so easy to make small mistakes here and stuff like that. And when you're fairly closely based on pace, just making one mistake that costs you a second or two, and then you're not making that back up again, and the gaps just stay the same, and you make another tiny mistake. I made probably, I would say, 15 or 16 mistakes in last night's race of hitting the curb wrong or going off a little bit or stuff like that. So I think it's just type of track is what it does.
Yeah, as we said, Stuart again being very busy in the box there, dishing out another DT for a lap 1 incident. Obviously some people have been some naughties going on there, but they're doing a stellar job making sure that everything's done according to plan.
Yeah, it's the one job I have no envy for is being a steward in these races, because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You can't get it right. But we are thankful for all the work that they do. Especially Shady Samuel, they're putting pressure on Sang, getting all kinds of cross lap coming into Bumble, manages to slow it up and still get the corner fairly right there. Sang taking a quite adventurous line there. That's an M4, not an X4, so maybe stay on track. But Shady is putting the pressure on, and we have Ivanhauser right behind them, also piling up the pressure as we get a replay here. I think that is Adams who caused the incident there, and he bonked Stewie Matthews there, so he will be shouting at some clouds. Will Shady be able to make anything happen here? I don't think he's quite close enough. Can he get a good run into turn 2? Very close. Will Chang defend? I don't think he's quite close enough. Aston looks really nice in the rearview mirror, but this is where the Aston really loses out on the acceleration out of that hairpin. It is just not as fast as the BMW, but if you can get a good run onto this little middle straight here, he could potentially... Nope, he runs all the way over the curb and probably loses another 10th. So the battle subsides for a couple of corners at least.
Unfortunately, the Aston and its lovely turbo has a nice issue in first gear, as we all know, driving it. But you know, keep playing on as we go back a little bit in the field for the battle for P10 here. We've got Chalmers, Skinner, and Bucktold all basically nose to tail, separated by a couple of tenths each. There'll be that's a compromising line. That was lucky that he didn't get sent out further to the right there. That was Skinner doing that little mistake. As these three of these boys line up to enter onto the back straight there. Chalmers trying to keep a nice tight defensive line. As Bucktold has a little bit of a squirm coming into the straight, and they play on, getting ready for the last complicated sector. Can't say I was a big fan of it, but it's definitely interesting as there's a little bit of a nose poke on the inside there, or a little bit of a door bang.
On the outside.
Nice.
How did he manage to keep that out of the rear quarter of Chalmers there on the rejoin? Fantastic awareness there by Skinner to avoid the impact.
Yeah, for sure. That was actually great opportunity there too by Bucktold there to make sure he can get that position on the inside as well, seeing as the BMW was compromised on exit, and get that position. Now he'll be trying to get the job done on Chalmers for that position now, as they all just jump into the top 10 because they passed Samuel in the pits. I'm wondering if that is a early pit stop strategy, maybe struggling for tyres. Oh no, there's
Chalmers. Oof. That's gonna...
Could have been that curve we were talking about earlier, turn 1 going, yep. You are my victim.
That's gonna leave a mark for sure. Yeah, I think Samuel, he thinks he has the pace to maybe get Sang, but just can't get the overtake done. So going for that early overtake or undercut, getting some clean air. He is in oodles of clean track at the moment, so he can just hot lap and potentially get that undercut on Sang and hopefully gain a position from this early pit stop. Although his tyres will be fairly second hand by the end of the race, so it should be interesting to see how that plays out for the top 5 there.
How is this track for tyre wear? Is it? I assume it's quite aggressive on those left-hand tyres.
Yeah, the left front absolutely dies. Skewley gets a fantastic overtake done on Taufik around the outside into bomb hole. I'm not 100% sure how he managed that, but his balls are enormous. And yeah, the left front just dies after 25 minutes. Well, especially with my driving style, it just dies after 25 minutes. And the lap time starts sort of tumbling fairly quickly after that.
Yeah, I don't think it's just your driving style. I just think it's the fact that the left front, not happy. After about 4 laps, it's like, nah, I'm gonna go away now. Good luck recovering me. As we see,
Replay here.
there's that outside curb
Ooh,
and that wall we were
boosh.
talking about. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that was a fair old impact. As you see, Azran Putra here in a battle with Aaron Lee. Aaron Lee, of course, has completed his pit stop, so has Putra. But they are letting Chris Tsang through. That is great awareness by Lee there, not to affect the leading car coming through. Will Putra be as kind as they come? See a little flash there from Tsang, asking him to move out of the way. Still a little bit too far back to really be flashing there, but Putra should dive out of the way here, and it appears as though he is doing. Is he? No, he's not.
No,
I'm
he's
not
definitely
100%
not.
sure
Oh,
what he's
God.
doing. He's getting all kinds of flustered. This is fantastic news for Shady Samuel, who is trying to get that undercut, and Putra again sends it up inside, and that allows Ivanauzer to get through. Tsang loses a position, and I think Tsang, I'm not sure what language he speaks, but he's using all of the swear words at the moment, asking Putra what on earth is going on. And that is going to end up costing Putra a position to Lee as well, potentially, as they come into bomb hole. He is clear already as they come into the braking. Tsang really not happy with the handling of the blue flags there.
Yeah, not really sure what was going through the process there of Putra there, but that will definitely be looked upon. And I do see, unfortunately, getting a big paddling with the stick. With that, unfortunately, as we see Chalmers here, still lapping with that damage after flipping the wall. As we're going into a replay of that brilliant overtake around the outside.
That is
Oh,
nice.
that is very late braking and very nice to pull it up with the appropriate amount of racing given. Very clean overtake. Nicely done.
Great respect shown by Tawfiq as well, giving him the space, not going out too wide. Two-man overtake, as they say, and very well done by both of them there.
I was going to say, since we've got all these meme cars, I'm really surprised someone doesn't have the That's a Paddle and meme. Someone's going to have to make that next season.
Well, what I will say is it's not a paddling meme, but
No.
if you see our livery for the upcoming Enduro, you'll be enjoying the meme as well, as I would say. Well, it's not really a meme, but it's just a really funny livery. But meanwhile, at the front of the pack, Lucas Burrs he's not sprinting away quite as much anymore. The gap is 8 seconds, which I know is rather large, but it hasn't really extended very much in the last couple of laps. So, not sure. I don't think it's tire wear because GTR is fairly well known for being very good on its tires. So maybe he is just relaxing, or maybe he's making mistakes like those, which is allowing Brad Cook to sort of maintain that gap a little bit. Be interesting to see if Cooley has the pace to close up on Cook. I mean, there's 35 minutes left, 12-second gap. Won't be easy, but might be possible. It'll be a big old challenge for Cooley and his Me-mobile.
Yeah, I think if that was me doing those bumpy on the outside of that final sector or final turn, I would have ended up in the wall. So Burst definitely has the skills to drive on track and off track. As we see a very interesting entry there at the bunghole from the, I think that was the Lambo in the background. I'm not sure, but that was definitely not the way to do that corner. There's a little bit of punishment on the front of Chalmers' car there from that collide, but he's still lapping at what appears to be a decent pace. And maybe that damage isn't as severe as we thought, but possibly if he's able to keep the pace, he will not do a repair. Oh, yeah, that's letting someone through there. I think that's Luca coming through the pack there, as this little group keeps their nose-to-tail battle going on. Oh, there's a BMW, and Chalmers is off again in that same. Luckily, not to get the same reaction and sent into the wall at the same time. So maybe he learned from his previous mistake on how to try and save it the correct way at the time, unfortunately. As Luca here is looking very speedy out behind him.
Of course, having served that drive-through already. And he's still in P13, so not losing out too much because of that. And he's back in this little battle pack here. And trying to make his way through safely this time. see Shady Samuel there in P16. He is the lead runner of the cars that have pitted. Not many have decided to take their pit stop. But we're getting into the window now where we'll see a few more of them.
The poll that just popped up in chat. I like that a lot.
Which of these circuits would you be happy to remove from Perth? Brands Hatch, Paul Ricard, Zandvoort, and Monza. What's your vote, Mr. Bob now?
Oh god. I can't say Zandvoort because technically that's when I got my first ROR win. So I think by default I have to keep that one. Monza's good for us for like 3 laps and then I'm over it. So maybe that.
Yeah, I have to-
Jack. Sorry,
All of
Jack.
them have some. Oh yeah, well, hang on, we've got people going off track. Get back on.
So Jacob did very well to hold it up the inside there, the second last corner, only to run wide at the final corner and give back the position. But you were saying, Justin, sorry.
The theme of all these tracks, if they've got some form of annoying trait, you know, like Paul Ricard and Monza, there's lots of driving straight for long periods of time, and Zandvoort and Browns Hatch, it's impossible to pass people and very tight and very narrow. So depends what you don't like. I'd put them on different ends of reasons why people wouldn't like them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And yourself, Paige?
I voted for Monza just because it's... I don't know, it's a good Formula 1 track, I guess, sort of, maybe. But
Oh, lots of passing
it's-
happens.
Yeah, lots of passing, but that doesn't make it a good track, though. I mean,
No.
that's just... it's because you're flat out and straight. Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's in the GT freeze. I think it's just so. I hate it so much because every freaking public lobby in ACC is Monza or Spa, and well, I mean my disdain for Spa is pretty well documented, so I won't have to say anything about that. But I don't know, Monza is just—it's so overrated. I think it's because people think it's an easy track, and it's really not. It's an easy track to drive around, but it's not an easy track to be fast on.
Yeah. Just
So-
every corner is so important, like because they all lead onto big long straights. That's really the thing. There's like 4 or 5 really important corners, and that's most of the corners. Oh, here we
Yep.
go. Look at this. Oh,
German.
Yeah, Chalmers had a bit of a compromised exit there, and Luca had a better one, but unfortunately had nowhere to go, ran out of track.
Parker gets a drive-through, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, and Putra as well for that avoiding of the blue flags, as we saw from the Ferrari. And you're coming lucky to keep that on track. Putra had a bit of an incident there at the exit of turn 1. Jacoman, is he going to send it up the inside? Putra, he avoids the blue flags fairly effectively this time. Maybe too effectively. Spa is awesome. I love going to a spa. Massages are amazing. Odd facial is incredible. Even a mani-pedi doesn't go amiss. Spa, the racetrack, can get in the bag. But yeah, no, spa day is fantastic.
Now, what is your favourite part about Spa? Let me guess, it's when you don't race it or when you finish the race?
When I
Halfway
don't
through,
race
keep
it.
up.
Oof, as we see Putra there. Whoa! Oof,
Oh, that's really
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Did well to keep it out of the wall though.
Yeah, he was also the poor Ferrari that was involved in the lap 1 incident at the second last corner. So has had to do some avoiding so far today. But we see Matthews here right on the back of Skinner. Skinner does have that 10-second penalty that he will have to add on to his time at the end of the race, as he has already completed his mandatory pit stop. For those who are unaware or who is watching ACC for the first time and randomly clicked on us, there's a little orange box with a 1 or a 2 or a 3 next to the driver's name. That is the amount of pit stops that they have to complete. If it is green, they have completed said pit stop. And speaking of pit stops, we see Chris Sang has dived into the pit, so it'll be interesting to see where Shady Samuel comes out in relation to him. This is what Barker got his drive-through for. A little bit deep on the brakes there, and then an additional bonk. So Sang is currently still stationary. Shady Samuel Where is Shady Samuel? Is that him
Samuel's
coming?
in P12 at the moment.
Yep, but he's very close to Cooley, and Cooley was well ahead of Tsang. So I think Samuel might get the overtake done here on Tsang. As Tsang is exiting the pits, Samuel has got him. The undercut has been very successful there for Samuel. And of course, Tsang got held up by that blue flag significantly, which cost them very harshly at the end of this pit stop cycle.
Oh, as we see him go a little bit wide there, those cold tyres have definitely sparked up some heat in Tafik's car. He's going to try and get a overtake done pretty potently here before those tyres come to pressure. But that Beamer is just gone on the exit of turn 3. Thank you very much for coming. Let's see what this Honda power can reel him back in for that overtake.
So it'll be interesting to see if Chang has the pace to catch back up to the back of Samuel and Cooley, and also whether Cooley is able to stay ahead of Samuel on a pace alone.
It's pretty quick pit stops here, right? It's a super short lane.
Yeah, I think Gorilla was saying earlier it's only 19 seconds sort of pit transition, so
Wow.
Yeah, he's not there for long, that's for sure.
So Samuel here putting some pressure on Cooley. Cooley was the one adding the pressure earlier in the race, now he's the one under pressure, so how the turntables, and be interesting to see how these guys battle it out. They can't afford to battle too much, as that will allow Tang to close up to the rear of the battle and make it a free-player game, so very difficult balance to strike. Ebenezer still in the pits, he's moving now. I'm not sure how happy Samuel will be about Ebenezer coming in and just stealing his number on his first race. So
Yes, early bird gets the worm in that case, I think. Oh, as we see it go for a little bit of a, I thought there was a bit more of a dive there, but I think that's just the camera angle when I quickly glanced up to have a look at that. But these two racing very respectively. It's one thing when you start racing with a lot of the same drivers each week that you actually get that more door-to-door racing. It's actually quite enjoyable. Like, I mean, I know myself have been in Gibbo's shadow more often than not lately, but it's once you understand what they can do and that, you do get that higher class racing, and it is very enjoyable. But these two are definitely showing a masterclass of it right now.
absolutely, as you start learning who you can drive close to, who you can go side by side to, who you can trust, and you begin building those sort of on-track relationships with certain drivers, and it makes the racing a little bit more interesting as the season goes on.
So I got a question for you then, Peach.
Yes.
I thought we were friends. What happened last season, Peach?
What happened to bygones being bygones?
I just meant that, you know, we've been on track for a while together, you know.
I killed you one time. It was very accidental.
I killed you once. Sorry, that sounds so funny.
It was one murder. That's it.
It's only once. Oh no,
it's-
I swear. Yeah.
See, even race control want to know.
I felt legitimately awful, to be honest. So no, it was. I still blame you because you made the mistake.
Oh, 100%. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's definitely your fault.
It's definitely my fault that you killed me. Yes.
Yes, no, because you were asking for it. Is how I see it. You know?
You made a mistake, and he just didn't avoid the mistake.
No, see, it was because I was leading the race, and he was like, "No, that's where I normally am."
He was
Therefore,
confused.
get off my track.
Yeah, you can't confuse people like that, you know.
Yeah, I'm
It
sorry.
makes them
That's
crazy.
that's all my apologies.
Yeah. So next time, if you're leading the race and you see me behind you, I hope you've learned your lesson, and we don't have this problem again. So we don't have to have this discussion again.
No,
So,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Peach. I will learn from my mistakes.
I don't know how you had the audacity to be leading a race anyway. So
The other important thing, Peach, now we need to know what is the answer to the poll. What is Peach's favourite spa treatment? Massage, pedicure, manicure, facial, or hair rinse?
So Bob now has seen photos of me, and he knows some things about me. So I'll let him answer the question. What he thinks is the actual answer.
That's
beauty.
Oh,
It's
no.
a
That's-
jump saves it. But that allows Shady through, and that's going to put Sang right onto the back of him now. That was a big old jump. That's going to make an epic screenshot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all 4 tyres were airborne at that stage. But that was impressive that he managed to save it and not kill Shady, and also Shady was impressive to get around that with not, literally trying to make the letter T between 2 cars.
Big curve, much wow. That was.
Can you damage the car over that curb?
No, I don't think you can, to be honest.
Because that didn't look healthy. Like it. I
No.
get a feeling my real car would be not very happy at me after doing that.
I can imagine somebody in like a proper motion rig landing there and like cracking their spine or something. Because it's quite should be quite an impact.
I mean, you could ask Lewis Hamilton in F1. I mean, he did bounce with that Porpoising down the straight. So, I mean, it curbed high. He also did that in the last race, last season too. He mounted that second chicane curb and went a bit airborne. He would give you a good answer. But
He
speaking
doesn't
of-
reply to my DMs. So.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So best spa treatment. I'm just gonna go for the massage. I reckon, Peach. I reckon you probably a good massage.
Well, you're wrong. So
Oh, that's a nice screenshot.
not quite as high as I was expecting. But can we see the landing? Because
I only just flicked it as well.
yeah, but you don't need to touch much of it. 'Cause this is
Yeah.
gonna have like an additional.
It
Oh,
hops.
even the rears.
Yeah, it does a nice bunny hop there.
Exactly. Oh, that was a big old impact. He did very well to hold on to it, though. But yeah, I do not like massages. They are not fun.
How are they not fun? You just relax.
He
no,
mustn't
but
have.
the-
He mustn't have sore muscles.
No,
if you,
I mean,
if you
the-
had sore muscles in your life, a massage feels great.
The problem is that, and this is gonna sound ridiculous, but when I was still like competing and training and stuff like that, the ladies weren't able to massage through my back. They weren't able to get in.
What were you competing in? Sorry, just so I
For
know.
powerlifting and strongman.
Oh, right. Okay.
And especially if you've been to Thailand and you've met Thai women, they're not exactly robust.
You need 3 of them standing on your back at the same time.
Exactly. So I've never really enjoyed it. I would much rather have a facial than have a massage.
So I've
Maybe-
got too much of a beard for that. It just doesn't work.
I was gonna say, because I guess we'll talk about spa treatments, but you'd probably go down well with a remedial massage, whether it's a physical thing that's fixing a muscle or something that's a bit sore or something like that. That'd be
Well,
awesome.
you say that. I used to date a girl who is a competitive bodybuilder, powerlifter, and also a sports massage therapist. And I had a small rupture in my bicep, and she gave me a massage.
Oh, that would
and-
be comfortable.
My
That
my
would
whole left arm was blue for about 3 days after that. She just freaking ruined me. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of those either, to be fair.
But it probably sped up the healing process. Probably.
Maybe, or I just was so focused on all the other pain that I forgot about the sore bicep.
Yeah, as someone that's recently come back from an arm injury, getting deep tissue and that done on a injured arm, yeah, not fun. Do not recommend, but has to be done unfortunately. As we see Sang here getting all up on the rear end of Keely here, definitely trying to see if he can capitalise on another mistake when Keely decides to Tokyo drift another curb. But at the moment, the Venus is that little bit too far out of reach, but it has just got that drive off that last corner and out of the hairpins here that the Aston doesn't, so maybe he'll look for a bit more of a gain time in those exits.
I'm not sure if that was a Tokyo drift. That was more like I think it was Fast 7 where they jump between the buildings. It was more reminiscent of that type of jump than a Tokyo drift.
More
one.
like a Gymkhana then.
Yeah, it was quite fun.
Just wondering whether Chris fixed the damage when he pitted. He 100% would have had damage from that collision. It was quite a heavy hit.
I wonder if that's why he's a little bit off pace, although he's not going too slowly. Or
I-
maybe it's-
Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if it's the first time that he's driven Snetterton this week. I think that might be the case for a fair number of drivers, actually. So maybe just not quite up to his usual pace yet, hasn't really done enough laps to get up there. And the damage would have been a fair chunk, but I mean, the BMW is fairly robust in terms of not losing too much time from damage.
Okay.
Mulder's going all autistic. Are we not going inside the tire? Okay, he's lining it up. He's lining it up. And, yeah, it doesn't look as cool. But that's a pretty cool shot, though.
Yeah, that's not a bad angle.
This is just reminding me of a comms that they had of one of the V8 supercar drivers, Jack LeBrock, at Queensland at the end of last year, just going, let's play I Spy, and he's playing it while he's in the race with his quick crew. And he's like, I see something starting with T, and the guy's like, I don't know what is it. He's like, it's tire. He's fucking tire. But it's so pissed off. He's like, I'm sick of seeing him because he'd had a number of incidents involving the tire bundles. So yeah, it was quite hilarious.
You know what though, in all fairness, I'm surprised that tyre barrier is still there. I mean, that normally gets absolutely yeeted at some stage. Although I don't think it actually got yeeted in Split Blue either, to be honest. So maybe they're showing us that you don't need to punt it to actually see the apex.
But you need to punt it, though.
But you do need
Just-
to punt it, yes.
Just because. But yeah, that's actually the angle that Mole there was at is actually like quite a cool idea for some of our resident photographers, Mr. Cricky and Sean Miller, a couple of the other guys who take some of those epic photos that we see in the Discord every week. It's a pretty cool little angle to get some photos of some of the cars.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. They do a absolutely massive and mega effort in making all their cars look especially unique and special. So hats off to those guys. I mean, if you happen to see the Reaper car and you get a good one of mine, we will be greatly appreciated because I am absolutely horrible at taking any form of screenshot, let alone a photo that looks semi-decent.
Yeah, as long as it's not a photo of the driver, then okay.
Yeah, look, don't take a photo of me. No one wants to see that. But, you know, the car, at least it's kind of okay.
One of the biggest keys
Anyway.
for not taking a screenshot, for taking a good screenshot, is not using your phone. The amount of times I asked for like a screenshot when I worked in IT, and people would take a photo with their phone and say, "Yep."
Yep, it's not ideal. Thank you, Sean. Hopefully we get some good photos from that. It's quite interesting to see the sort of different approaches that, like Sean Miller, who does some of the fantastic photography you see on Mike Crick, they both take amazing photos, but the general sort of color palettes and stuff that they go through or go for is so different, but both still work. So it's quite interesting. It's always fun to see the different approaches they take to taking the photos.
Yeah, as we just go back to the rest of it, it looks like Sang may have dropped off the pace here from Killian, but Killian is also getting his way well back to that Aston here. Only half a second down. And looks like he got a better drive at least. Oh, that Stewart does not look impressed. I think that's not right anymore. He is not thrilled by this racing here today, but hopefully everyone here in YouTube are. Because it is good quality stuff.
It doesn't look like it looks so familiar. When it was in the small screen, it looked like sort of a King Joffrey lookalike kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I see that. Yeah, in the smaller camera. Yeah. Okay.
one of the most hated characters of all time. Has there been a more satisfying on-screen figure that passed away in a movie? No, there hasn't.
No, there has not.
As we see, Keely got a good run to the final corner there, but not quite close enough to make anything work there.
We've got a fantastic exit there.
We'll learn it back. And I'll just pretend I've seen it, by the way.
Yeah, have you not seen Game of Thrones? Okay.
Yeah. I play video games.
Yeah, fair enough.
do two things at once. Second screen, Game of Thrones 1, Peak Games other.
So I saw a question the other day that I was wanting to ask. Well, firstly you guys, and also for chat specifically. If you could ruin one band name, like a musical group or even an artist,
Ruin the
by changing only one letter in their name, what would be your go-to?
There's too many to pick from. I wouldn't actually even know where to start. And then what letter do you make a change to?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. There's too many options, Peach. My 2 brain cells can only handle so much.
I can think of everyone making Red Rooster Red Rooter. That's one of that just change one letter. That was a really common thing to do to the Red Rooster signs.
Okay. My favorite answer, and this is not quite PG rated, but is to change the final letter of Queen to an F.
Oh, I'm so mature with that. Yeah, that's good. Getting back onto the racing though.
Back
'cause,
on the racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Very close to Shady Samuel yet again. Shady towards the middle of the track, moves nice and late, keeps it predictable, very tricky. As Cooley again with a good run out of and there is
no.
one ticket. I'm not sure if Samuel maybe moved across a little bit or Cooley maybe under braking just shifted the angle a little bit, but that's going to cost Samuel dearly. He loses, 3 positions from that?
He was doing so well as well. His strategy of pitting early just paid off, and that's unfortunate to see.
Yeah, maybe
Thank you, Jason Gowers, for the $10.
For the camera work, so that's just directly to Mull's account, not to anything we're doing. But yes, Mull is doing a fine job with the camera work, obviously.
Yep, you have some drama, as Big Ape says. I know it's Big 8, but Big Ape sounds better. Shady Samuel now under pressure from Ebenhauser as well. Will he have the pace to pull away again? I don't think he will have much damage from that incident, so should be able to get back on pace as we see a replay here. Yeah, just Samuel drifting across ever so slightly under brakes, and Hewley braking a little bit later, going a little bit deeper, and the door just closed.
It's so hard in those zones. You just gotta be careful. I feel like it'll just be called a racing incident. I don't know if anyone will particularly cop a penalty, but yeah, just moving while braking because the other person had decided I'm going to brake a little bit later than you, and then they don't have any chance to react in time. So they're just a passenger, even though it looks like they potentially drive into the back of you or the side of you or whatever. The decision was already made.
Yeah, I don't think there was much malicious intent there or anything like that, just as you said, a bit of a racing incident.
Yeah, I think
But
there's also got to, you notice with your braking, especially if you're that close to someone, you do get that bit of aero wash as well, or you might miss your mark because you're that 1 or 2 kilometers faster than normal. That obviously does throw out the braking zone slightly. But yeah, I think there might be a bit of play on that. But hopefully, no harm, no foul. Oh, as we see, Shady still get a bit wide. Maybe his tyres are still a little bit hot or a bit scuffed from the excursion on the grass. But definitely fighting off Ebenhauser here.
yeah, those tires will definitely be second-hand. They've already had 30 minutes on track, and now they had an off-road excursion as well, which is not ideal.
I just realizing that's actually pretty impactful for the championship. Saying getting 2 extra spots for free, sort of thing, is because this was going to be his worst race by far, but that really just bumps him back up to only really being 1 spot. Next start.
Oh, you can tell we're all mature people here at OR.
Yeah.
Has everyone
Yeah,
seen
sure.
the South Park episode with that? That's all I need to say. The Queef Sisters? No? Okay. Well, if you enjoy that sort of humour, then go watch that.
If you enjoy that sense of humor, then join us here in OR, because we are mature.
Place to be.
We are very grown up. that is what we are. And we have another view here of Burrs. We don't see him often because he's so far ahead. Penalty goes to Shady Samuel there, so that's an interesting call, but fair enough from the stewards. They have better angles than we do. Bird has grown that gap to Cook behind a little bit, 15 seconds now. I don't think he's been pushing particularly hard in the second stint, just sort of lapping fairly easily. And Cook has been in a little bit of a world of his own, nobody really near him, just racing by himself.
And racing by yourself in its own has its own skill, I should say. Because as we see another excursion there with a big puff of dirt. But when you are in that sort of no man's land, it is hard to keep focus, especially if there is that big time gap between cars. You know, make sure you get your eyes in for your brake markers and your turning points and all that kind of stuff. Because yeah, if you're not careful, this track is well and truly going to punish you if you do make that little mistake. As we know, you can lose a quite chunk of time from it.
I said to Mo, I was literally weaving on the stretch just to keep myself interested last night because I was in a similar position, like nobody ahead that I'm able to catch, nobody behind that's putting pressure on, and you're just like lapping for 40 minutes on your own. Crowded horse. That's a good one. I haven't seen that one before, actually.
Alex so happy with himself when he makes songs for that. I love it. The silent nods of approval he gives himself.
Yeah, doing God's work.
So Shady, he's going to lose out on, looks like 2 positions to Billy Ebenhauser and Stefan Bechtel behind. Should have enough of a gap to Giacomin to keep the 8, unless Giacomin puts in some belters of laps towards the end of the race here. But yeah, it's not been the tightest evening of racing overall through both splits. I'm sure next week when we are off to Japan, the land of the rising sun, and we are racing around Suzuka for a super sprint round, which is 2 races, one of 20 minutes, one of 40 minutes, and a 40-minute race has a reverse grid top 12. So really looking forward to that one. I think we'll see a little bit more engagement there, more people familiar with the track, more people liking the track. Husky, your thoughts on Suzuka, yay or nay?
I thoroughly enjoy it. It's always been one of those, I guess, iconic tracks for myself. I can't say I'm good at it. Can't even say that I'm decent at it. I'm improving, but yeah, it's definitely, it has a bit of a soft spot in a fair few people's hearts. I know that for a fact. So I think you'll find that the quality or the racing will be a lot tighter. You'll have those bigger groups of battles happening. It's one more of those familiar tracks, whereas obviously a lot of people don't really do the English tracks or the GT tracks over here, because like, yeah, it's a bit more complicated, I guess, but not so iconic. So yeah, I think the racing overall will be far improved all around.
Yeah, I have to agree with Sean Miller there. Apart from Spoon, which is just an awful set of corners, the rest of the track is just quite fantastic. Sector 1 is so good when you get it right, when you get that rhythm right, but just making one small mistake there and the rhythm goes out the door and you are suffering all the way to Degness. So a little bit tricky, but fantastic track.
Speaking of Spoon, I think in my insert number of laps here, I think I've got it correct. Well, let me see. Never.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I got some information. Chalmers, who currently running in P15 after that earlier incident, he had a bit of an oopsie on his stream due to certain unnamed characters who may have or may not have abused sound alerts. And they have been playing for about 40 minutes now.
Oh god.
So, So he had to turn off his his stream to try and avoid that, and that didn't fix the issue as it was still playing in the background.
Oh no.
So yeah, Chalmers is not having a happy race, but he is still putting in a fair old performance here, running in P15 after having a fair incident earlier as well.
But content was created, so it was okay. Isn't that what it's for?
As we all say, it's all about the content.
Yeah, I was going through a similar thing last night where people were abusing sound alerts and stuff like that. So 5 minutes before the start of qualifying, I was figuring out how to put prices up and stuff like that so people couldn't abuse them quite as much, and that fortunately solved the problem somewhat. But I can imagine it's the sad Titanic flute noise music that is playing in Chalmers' ears for the last 40 minutes.
No. It really isn't much worse than that, I can imagine. Oh, you poor man.
Is it the sad flute with the really
Like the really badly played
the really
sad flute.
badly played flute?
Yes.
I hope so. Yeah.
Sorry, Mission Impossible. I'd say.
Oh, Mission Impossible. I think that one's even worse.
So the only one I would think that would be worse is one that I have on my stream is the Benny Hill theme, because it's just so annoying. But that is a pretty rough one, I would say.
I'm from the very, very, very OG days of Twitch where using bots to play, full copyright music was standard, even on the biggest streamers. And,
even as I was like, well, not physically, but on
down the straight. Oh, yep.
Wondering if he tried to do a move on Shady, maybe, or they got involved with each other, but that's unfortunate for him there. As Cooley gets blocked by Skinner there in the final corner. So his hopes of challenging Tsang in the last couple of laps comes crumbling down a little bit there.
Yeah, those early days of Twitch were pretty wild with things being the fact that people could request anything on YouTube for a song. I was getting some extreme bans. I learned of a band called Infant Annihilator, and it was
nice.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Do they make children music or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very children friendly. You should go look up some of the names of their songs and you'll understand.
The wheels on the bus goes over the baby. I guess it's something like that. Or...
Yeah, kind of things. Yeah.
Tom Maloney pointing out that each play of the song costs 20 bits. So I can't imagine how much money somebody put into annoying Chalmers, but money well spent, I would say.
Chris is actually saying Infinite Isle are actually great, though. Well, that's the thing. They're extremely talented, but they're a bunch of silly boys. That's the way to put it.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now.
They,
I have never heard of them, and I don't think I want to.
Yeah.
Oh, we get a replay there. Samuel loses it.
Lost control.
Oh, and he just gets tapped there. That's so unfortunate for Ibenhauser.
He was having a really good first race, too.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, even still, he's running the P9, so nothing to sniff at on debut. Unfortunately, that may have cost him the Pro-Am lead in this race. Stefan Bechtold retaking that. But very unfortunately. So the Cooley is right back onto the back of Tsang here. Burs has already started the final lap. He's about halfway through that. These guys will have one more lap to duke it out and try and secure that final spot on the podium. Sherry Samuel with another 15-second penalty. It looks like he is on 30 seconds now, so that is very unfortunate for him there.
Oh, gee. Really? Last late breakers, it's Mr. Keeley.
Yeah, it's one of those corners in the Aston where you kind of need to V it to get a good exit. So brake a little bit deeper and then get the strong exit there. But yeah, unfortunate for Shady there to get that additional 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's definitely going to hurt his position. It looks like he'll probably drop out of the top 10 potentially with that.
Yeah.
But unfortunate. Looks like there's been a few wrong time, wrong place here as we see Burst come around the final corner. and come across the line for an absolute dominant win here, leading by what's that, 21 seconds I think it was. As we see Cook here doing the second last corner, and Keeley here trying to just get on the last attempt, and Sang here. But Cook comes around the last corner to cross the line in P2.
Haven't seen much of him, which is normally a good sign if you have a boring race. But Keeley is going to have one more attempt here if he can absolutely nail the second last corner and potentially get something done into the final corner. We've seen it doesn't always work. Will he be able to do something? Gets a strong exit, but I don't think the Aston acceleration will be enough to get past right on his tail, but Zhang will hold on for P3. Cutie takes P4, and Moyen Taufik will cross the line in P5, and Cutie absolutely annihilates a wall. Shady Samuel will cross the line in P6, but he will drop back a fair few positions there after serving that penalty. Luca Giacoman, after starting in P21, crosses the line in P7, so good recovery there for him, even serving a drive-through. Stefan Bechtold takes the pro and win in P8. But Ebenhauser, great debut there for them. P9.
What happened to Bechtold?
And look at the gap there. Maybe run out of fuel. Look at the gap there between the Pro-Am winners, 0.075. Scotty Rockford takes the Pro-Am podium in P10, and then the rest of the grid, Andrew Skinner in P11.
Yeah, Bechtold was like, I think he was in
Incredibly
7th.
slow. Yeah.
He was in 7th, and he dropped a spot and nearly lost the win of the class.
Green light,
Right at
green
the end
light.
there.
Go, go, go.
May have run out of fuel, maybe, yes.
Yeah, possibly.
As we have ticked over, and we will get one final look at the results for Split Red here in the Simrigs Sprint Series. Lucas Burst with the fastest lap pole position and the win takes the Grand Slam. Brad Cook and Chris Sang in P3. In the Pro-Am class, we have Stefan Bechtold, Billy Ebenhauser, and Scotty Rockford in P3. And in the Am class, Sheriff Omar, Brad Skinner, and Azrin Putra in P3 in the Ferrari after a very eventful race. Liam Adams in the silver class takes the win. And that is going to do it for us here at Octane Online Racing. Thank you very much for joining. Don't forget to tune in later if you are in the EU zone or North America. There will be some more racing going on. Mr. Babnow, Tate, it has been a fantastic evening. Thank you for joining us for the call.
Thanks for having me, guys, and thanks YouTube chat. I will catch you on the next one.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye, chat. Bye, everyone.